is suing her ex-brother-in-law, Dwight Francis, for assault and a false arrest.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3030, Gaines versus Francis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gaines, who is this?
My witness, my twin sister, Lucinda Gaines.
Mm-hmm. And your sister is married but in the process of divorcing the defendant.
Actually, they're already divorced.
When were you divorced?
August 18th, 2022.
Okay. The events surrounding this case happened in November of 2020.
Yes.
Each one of you claim that they were assaulted by the other. In November of 2020, your sister and the defendant were having trouble in their marriage. That be a fair statement?
Yes.
And your sister had complained previously to you that the defendant was trying to get her in trouble, alleging that she assaulted him.
Absolutely.
So on November the 8th, you receive a call from your sister.
No, we was already on the phone, Your Honor.
So you were on the phone with your sister.
Yes.
And I want you to relay the conversation that you had with your sister on that date.
Well, we were just sitting there chatting like we always do. We were just laughing, talking about her schoolwork. I was talking about my schoolwork. We both had tests coming up, so we were just relating to each other in that manner that we always do every day.
Okay, let's go. Move it along.
Anyway, all of a sudden, I heard, after an hour of talking to her on the phone, I overheard him say, "Let's fight. Let's do this without the cops." And I was like,
you heard him say, "Let's fight.
Let's do this without the cops. We could fight right now. We could
Just
fight
a second.
right."
I want to be very clear because Whitney is taking, let's do this without
the police.
The police. That you remember.
That I remember.
Don't speak. Let's do this without the police. And what's the next thing you heard him say?
They just started arguing, so...
Just a second. Would you go back, Whitney, please, and tell me what the plaintiff said? She said that he said two things.
Yes, let's fight. Let's do this without the cops.
Let's fight.
Saying that to my sister.
Shh. Let's fight. Let's do this without the cops. Which one was it? You said, let's do this without the police. That's one. Or let's fight. Let's do this without the cops. Which one did you hear?
I overheard him say both things to my sister, and I just hung up after that.
What both things?
He said, I didn't have no idea he was there. I said, "Cinda, who's that?" She said, "Dwight." I said, why, what's going on? And then I just hung. She was like, "Oh,
what's going on?"
Yeah, and I just hung up. I said, "Okay, I'm just gonna hang up."
Why?
Because they was husband and wife. Maybe it was just something they was just going through. I didn't know.
Now, just a second. Let me explain something to you. I'm beginning to suspect what you're telling me is a whole lot of who shot John. You're on the phone with your sister. You're talking about tests like you're talking about every day, blah, 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 blah. Then you hear something that would cause me concern. You hear, let's fight. Let's do this without the police. And according to you, what you said to me was, so I just hung up.
I said, "Cinda, I'm gonna hang up and I'm gonna call you back." She was like, "Oh, I'm gonna handle this."
Just a second. Don't speak. Yes. Let's go through it again, because now we're getting a different story. Let's do this. Let's do this without the cops. And then what did you say to her and what did she say to you?
I asked her, who was that in the background?
You said, who was that in the background?
And she said, Dwight. I said,
What?
"Oh, I thought he didn't be there anymore."
Okay.
And so she was like, "Oh, I'm going to handle it. I'm going to just call you back." So I said, "Okay."
Okay. She said, "Oh, I'm going to handle it. I'll call you back." So you didn't just hang up. Just a second. You didn't just hang up.
No, I didn't.
You had a continued conversation.
I didn't really want to hang up, but I hung up because she told me.
You didn't just hang up. You had a conversation with your sister, and your sister said, "I'm going to handle it." That's what you said she said to you.
Absolutely. After 20 minutes, I called. So I felt like they got into a fight. Why I felt that way, because
I don't care why
he had her arrested.
Just a second. I don't care why you felt that way.
Yeah.
I don't care what you felt that way.
Because he got her arrested on October 27th, 2020 for assault. I had no idea. I was calling her.
So we had her arrested in October for domestic violence.
Yes, 2020.
And then so a month before, he had her arrested for domestic violence. What happened to that case? Do you know, Miss Gaines? Do you know? The answer is yes or no.
No.
But you know he had her arrested. Okay, so now we're in November. Your sister has clearly allowed him back into the house, right? She didn't say, it's Dwight, he doesn't belong here, I'm going to call the police, because according to you, she's having a pleasant conversation with you. And he's talking, who is that Dwight? Oh, he's here. So you went to your sister's house. You didn't call the police because you were worried. You went over to your sister's house. Now I want you to tell me exactly what happened. Be careful, because you know, I've been doing this for 50 years. Do you understand?
Yes.
What you're about to tell me, I've heard 100 times, all different kinds of versions, but certain things make sense and certain things don't. Do you understand? So now I'm going to...
I thought the police would be there by the time I got there because my sister told me...
I don't care what you thought. She told you what?
She told me she was going to go to jail and I just...
Oh, just a minute. We're getting a lot more into this conversation now. Hold on. First we started with I hung up. And then you said, my sister says to me, when did
when I called back, she said...
Just a second. So you called back and you got her on the phone.
I said,
oh.
Her ex-brother-in-law, Dwight Francis, assaulted her and lied to the police. Dwight is countersuing, claiming he defended himself from Lucretia's attack.
So you waited 20 minutes and you called her back.
Yes.
And you did, in fact, get her on the phone.
Yes, and that's...
Just a second. Now, I want you to go back to what she told me 4 minutes ago with, I called.
I did.
And she didn't answer.
She did not answer.
After 20 minutes, I stay home. After 20 minutes, I called. I felt they got into a fight. Why I felt that way? Because he had her arrested. I was just scared
you
for
called
her.
and called and called and called. So now you called.
Halfway there, she answered the phone.
You called and she answered.
Yes.
Now I want you to tell me about that conversation before you went over there. I said to her, and she said to me, let's go.
I'm going to jail. She said, well, I'm going to jail now because he called the cops. And then I said, oh, okay, well, because I just felt like she was going to go to jail because she got arrested.
I don't care what you felt.
Anyway, I was only going to get my nephew.
You called her and she said, I'm going to go to jail.
She said he called the cops, so I think
he
I'm going
called
to
the
jail.
cops.
Because
he had a restraining order against her.
Protective order.
Right. And clearly something happened in that 20 minutes between the time you were talking about your tests and the time you got her back on the phone that suggested to you that something had transpired when she said, now I'm going to go to jail. So you went over there because you knew about the protective order because you knew she had gotten arrested in October. So now you go over there to do what?
To grab my nephew, because last time I went, when she couldn't go back to her home that he moved in with her, he didn't even feed my nephew. And that's what I was afraid of.
Just a second. Is that their child?
No.
You went over there to get your nephew.
Yeah.
Now, what happened when you got there?
When I got
slowly, because right now you see, it doesn't go well.
I know.
You understand?
Understood.
Okay. So now you go over there.
When I got to their home, the defendant was standing outside. I finally pulled up. I saw no cops. So I asked him, why you keep calling the cops on my sister? That's when he took it upon himself to hit me in my face, knock me off the curb, because I guess it needed to fit his narrative. Come to find out, he called the cops and told the cops that my sister called me over there to fight him. Why would I fight for my sister? I shouldn't have went over there, but I did because I was worried about my nephew. She told me to. She asked me to get him the last time. She was like, can you go to the house and grab my nephew?
You left that out 5 minutes ago.
Sorry, because it was so much. And it had been so long ago.
Well, that's why you're supposed to bring a case as soon as you can after the event. The reason I assume you didn't is because COVID struck and they didn't dismiss both of your cases until recently. Yeah. So neither one of you could have come to civil court. I assume that that's why you waited 2 years. I really don't care. Now, that's what you say happened, that you came over there and got out of the car and calmly said to him, why do you keep calling the cops on my sister?
Yes.
That's what you remember you said to him?
Yes.
Calmly. Why do
really
you...
calmly, really agitated, because I was home doing my own thing, you know, and it was
Well,
just...
I want you to tell me what happened. You got out of the car. Clearly, you're bigger than he is.
Exactly.
Clearly, you're bigger than he is. So is your sister. You got out of the car, and now you're agitated. So you didn't just ask him. You said, why do you keep calling the cops on my sister? And he punched you.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you're...
And knocked me off the curb. I was stuck under the car where he proceeded to keep pounding on me in my head. And I almost lost consciousness, which I did lose consciousness. My hands was all cut up. I have proof from trying to cover the blows, but I had nowhere to move because of...
Just a second. What part of your hand was all cut up?
Both of my hands, because I was trying to hold it, because I was on the concrete.
Just a second. Your knuckles on both hands were cut up. Mm-hmm. That's not a defensive wound.
Those are?
No. That's not. No, dear. That's not a defensive wound. This is a defensive wound. This is from hitting somebody.
But I'm trying to grab my hoodie down so he could stop punching me in my face. So that's what was happening, because I was trying to
I still don't understand why you got...
I don't know how.
I don't know. I don't know either. I don't know whether you're going to show me. I'm going to look at all your proof. I'm just examining you first, since there are cross complaints here. You're trying to speak over me.
Sorry.
Yeah, clearly, you're not intimidated by your surroundings. That's her version of the events. She came over to the house and she asked you why you keep calling the cops on my sister. And you punched her and kept punching her until she almost lost consciousness. Now, you want to tell me your version of these events?
Okay.
How long, by the way, had you been in the apartment with her sister?
6 or 7 years.
No. You had her arrested in October. So clearly she was arrested and she was out of the house. Is it your house or her house?
Her house. She wasn't out the house.
So she was arrested and you were both still living in the house together?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Since October?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you were there and she was there?
Same way, Your Honor.
Same way?
Yes.
She was released by the police and you were there, she was there, and her son?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
Yes, it's a partial.
Don't speak.
Okay.
So when you said, what's Dwight doing there, you clearly didn't know that they were still living together.
No.
Good. So now you tell me your version of the events of November 8th, 2020. Tell me what happened.
Okay. Lucinda was keep coming at me.
How did she keep coming at you?
Like coming up in my face, like she want to fight with me. And I never want to fight at all.
That is not true.
If you say one more word, I'm going to throw you out. Do you understand?
That wasn't me. That was her.
Oh, you're easy. You're going to be gone. Did you call the police?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you call the police before Miss Gaines got there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so now you called the police, and clearly she heard it.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she said to you, I'm going to get arrested. That's what you said.
Because it was a...
Did you say something? There is no indication.
Lucretia Gaines has accused her ex-brother-in-law, Dwight Francis, of assaulting her and lying to the police. Dwight is countersuing Lucretia, claiming she assaulted him.
So you called the police and you went outside.
I went outside first before I called the police.
You went outside and called the police from outside?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
When I called the police, I stepped down to the sidewalk and I was there waiting for the police to come. I heard a car speed come around, hear her yelling, I hope you're not calling the cops. I said, of course I'm calling the cops. She pulled over to the side and come up towards me, ready to fight with me. I never want to fight. I turned my head around. She was already there in front of me, sizing me up, and I just make a mistake and look around. And by the time I made that mistake and look around, she knocked me over.
And?
I saw her about to hit me again. When I hit her, she fall, and I ran off, try to escape. She get back up and running me down. I couldn't run no more because I was going towards the hospital direction where I was going. When she caught up with me, the cops turned up.
Okay. May I see the police report, please?
I have one.
Well, it's practically impossible to determine which one of you instigated the physical part of this altercation. Each of you claimed that the other threw the first blow. Listen carefully to what I'm saying. That's what she says, and you said that she hit you first. So it's impossible to determine who hit who first. However, the police report is very telling. It says that when the police arrived, they found you on Kensington Street. And you told the police, you're Lucretia,
Yes.
said Francis, that would be him, began to walk down Kensington Street. So the fight had begun, and he got up and started to walk away towards Chapel Street, which is consistent with what he said. And Lucretia said she ran after Francis and began fighting with him until the police arrived. That's what the police report says.
I can show you. I couldn't even run. I had torn meniscus.
Just a second.
There's no way.
I'm telling you what the police wrote in their report that you told them. And it's totally consistent with what he said, that he was trying to walk away.
I was running.
After he beat me up.
Listen to me. You went over there furious.
I wasn't furious.
Oh, yeah.
Some...
Just a second. You went over there furious.
Absolutely not.
Yana,
Absolutely not.
Can I tell my story, please?
Can you tell your story?
Yes, please.
Oh, be my pleasure. I got a couple of questions to ask you as long as you want to testify. Okay. There is no indication here from you to the police or any other authority that he ever put his hands on you. What you complain about him is that he's disrespectful, he taunts you, he says nasty things to you, he calls you names.
Yes.
In response to that, you assault him.
No, I don't, ma'am.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
He had me falsely arrested. Yes, he's small in stature, but I don't know how he keep manipulating the system. This man is dangerous.
You have to understand something. You told the police that he doesn't...
We never had a physical altercation. That's why I don't know where he's getting these things from. It's like once he found out we were going to divorce, he didn't want to leave the house. So that's why he kept having to try to put a case on me.
All may be true.
Yes.
There is no indication here, as a matter of fact, quite the contrary, that he ever put his hands on you.
He never put his hands on me, and I never placed a hand on him.
Your sister did. Now you can sit down.
Go.
Can I just tell you how we even got here?
No.
All I want to say...
No, I'm just telling you. I don't care how you got here. This happened 2.5, 3 years ago, and the reason that you're here is because of an incident that had, in its beginnings, you going to a place where you had no right to be.
Can I please show you the medical reports? Because there's no way I ran down the street.
Just a second. I'm going to read what you told the police. After a brief verbal altercation, Francis punched her in the face. They both began fighting in the middle of the street. Francis then began to walk down Kensington Street towards Chapel Street. Lucretia said she ran after Francis and began fighting with him until the police arrived. Okay, your case is dismissed.
Right.
Now, you have any medical records of your injuries?
Yes,
I'd
Your
like
Honor.
to see them.
I have scar to it.
Just a second, I'd like to see them.
I'm telling you, I did not run after him. How can I run? How can I run after him if my knee, I torn meniscus?
Hey, do you want me to play the tape of you walking through the door into the courtroom? Yes, you did.
I could walk, yeah, but I'm still
right,
in
you
pain
did.
for the rest of
I
my
can
life.
play the tape back
I have
for you
to
if
get
you like.
surgery, Your Honor.
Not only is the case going to be dismissed, but because I see you can't control yourself. Even in a courtroom, you can't control yourself. I'm hearing his case now. He's got a cross complaint. And as far as I'm concerned, you were the aggressor. You went there
I did.
to a potentially aggressive situation by yourself. By yourself.
She have something in her hand too. I never see what it was, but I know she threw it away.
Do you think I need your help?
Okay.
Forget it. Telling you, this man is dangerous. You will see he'll be arrested again.
See what I mean? You can't control yourself. You want me to believe that you got out of the car and calmly said, "Why are you calling the police on my sister?" Somebody who can't control themselves in a courtroom. Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $5,000. Your claim is dismissed.
All right, thanks.
Court is adjourned.
I'm just sad about the whole situation because I feel like I should have won this case.
Everything is in facts, and that's how it happened. It was the truth.
I just figured she was going to jail So I just wanted to get my nephew and leave.
I want to be a good parent.
It goes on. He's manipulating the system, and it shows.
That whole case just seemed like a mess all the way around. I think the plaintiff went there maybe a little hotter than she was ready to admit. I think the police report seemed enlightening after you took a look at that and read her own account of what she told the officer. And, you know, he didn't seem like Prince Charming either, though. So I'm annoyed that you gave him the judgment. I agree with it because it was so unclear.
I gave him the judgment, actually.
Because she couldn't control herself. I knew.
Because you're in a courtroom setting, and you try to take somebody's demeanor in a courtroom setting, which is intimidating. I mean, I'm intimidating. I know that I'm intimidating. Couldn't control herself.
Yeah.
You know, you have to couple the law with common sense. He's no doll, for sure. But he extricated himself from the house because, according to her,
and then down the street.
he was outside when she got there. The police report was clear. He again tried to extricate himself by walking away. And when the police arrived, they were fighting on the street. Again, because she had caught up with him. She said she went there to get her nephew. You can call the police and say, I think there's going to be a problem. Would you take me over there? There's a domestic case. But she went over there hot. And the reason he was awarded money is because she couldn't control herself, even here. There was no question in my mind that she was the aggressor.
No, I agree.
All right, Mello versus Pilgrim. All parties, please step forward.
Joy Mello is suing her former attorney, Larry Pilgrim, for the cost of a suit her son wore during his trial.
Miss Mello, I am certain that you are very sad.
Yes.
You have every right to be sad.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, your son was tried and convicted of murder in 2021.
That's correct.
And currently is serving a life sentence.
That is correct.
You had retained Mr. Pilgrim, who is an attorney, to represent him during that trial.
Yes.
Were you the person who paid him?
My family did collectively, but I worked 3 jobs to make payments until his money was paid in full.
Mr. Pilgrim represented him, I believe, from 2019 to 2021. Is that correct, sir?
Correct. September of 2019 until the trial in December of 21.
Who was he convicted of murdering?
The gentleman's name was Kenny. I'm sorry.
An acquaintance?
I think
No.
they knew each other, yes, but they were rivals. It was a love interest, love triangle type of case.
Got it. This is what the case is about. It's not a difficult case. When the trial began, your son was allowed to wear civilian clothes rather than prison attire to court, and you went out and bought him clothes for about $700. And according to you, you asked Mr. Pilgrim, when the trial was over, to please get the clothes. And Mr. Pilgrim, according to you, assured you he would get the clothes back to you, and you never got the clothes back.
Never.
And Mr. Pilgrim says, you know, once prisoner is convicted and they go back from the courtroom, they take these clothes. He doesn't know what happens to them. And they went probably into a large room where people who are similarly situated to your son, but who don't have a mother to buy them clothes, can go in and choose something to wear in court other than an orange jumpsuit. He has no idea where the clothes are, correct?
That's correct.
Joy Mello claims her former attorney, Larry Pilgrim, refuses to pay for the cost of a suit her son wore during his trial.
All right, Ms. Pilgrim, this is not a very difficult case. This is a case about being sad and mad at the wrong person. So I want you to tell me on what you base your case that he is responsible for the clothes that your son wore.
I gave the clothes to Mr. Pilgrim. I purchased them at his request, gave him the clothes. When he didn't return them, I went to the sheriff's department. I asked what the procedure was. They said the attorney in question is to pick up the clothes. That's his responsibility. I wrote a letter.
You know that you can't tell me that.
Oh.
I'm just telling you that because that's hearsay.
Yes, ma'am. But
You
I
went to
wrote
the
a letter
sheriff's
to the
department.
judge.
You went to the sheriff's department. Somebody told you it was the lawyer's responsibility. I actually have never heard that.
Okay. And I wrote a letter to the judge, the trial judge, who told me.
Don't tell me what the
it's in
trial
the-
judge
I have
told
it.
you.
I have it.
I would like to see
The
it.
letter.
I would like to see. Don't give me a whole bunch of
You,
stuff.
I'll give you the letter that I wrote to the judge and his response.
Fine. Okay, the judge was very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice to answer you. It seems that your family should have bigger fish to fry than these clothes. Judge says this matter has been researched and it was determined that your son's clothing was returned to Conflict Criminal Defenders Coordinator by the Sheriff's Department. Please reach out to that office.
And I did.
And?
They told me that
You can't tell me what they told you. If you have an official correspondence, I'll read it.
No, I do not.
Okay.
I only have, again, the procedure.
There's no procedure. You were told by the court. You reached out to them.
Yes.
This is an official
They said
document.
they didn't know where
It's a letter.
I can't tell you that they didn't tell me. They told me they had no idea that all the clothes went in one big bag.
I don't care where they went. He doesn't have your son's clothes. How tall is your son?
5'10", 10 and a half.
So he's 5'10" and a half. How tall are you?
5'10".
Yeah, how much does he weigh?
Now?
No, then.
About 190,
Yeah, and
190 pounds.
Do I have to say? More than 190.
You don't have his clothes, do you?
No, certainly not.
Mr. Pilgrim, because this is all a matter, in my view, looking at Miss Mello, and she appears to be a very nice lady. When something sad happens like this, you have various emotions, and very often you choose the wrong target for your anger. In this case, a lot of time was spent, over $700 worth of clothes for a young man who's serving 50 to life for murder. You have other children, Miss Mello?
Yes, I do.
How many other children do you
I have 4 other children. My daughter, she's a witness. And the clothes, actually, my sons could have worn them.
It's possible. It's not his responsibility. The judge told you where to go.
He told me where the clothes went.
He doesn't know where the clothes went. I would actually be willing to wager an awful lot that he doesn't have your clothes.
That's who I gave them to.
No, you gave them to your son. He was the conduit between you and your son. The last person who you saw wearing those clothes was your son.
That's correct.
Okay, so after that, you don't know what happened to them. You may have given it to them, just like if you walked into a courtroom and handed them to Kevin, and then you didn't see them again. Say, Kevin, I gave you the clothes. Well, he gave them to whom they were designed to be given. That doesn't mean Kevin's responsible if you don't get your clothes back. That's the same thing with Mr. Pilgrim. Your anger is directed at the wrong person, Miss Mello. I don't know the circumstances surrounding the death of Kenny, but your son was convicted by 12 people, and the judge found the circumstances of that conviction egregious enough to sentence him to 50 years to life. That's who your anger should be directed against your son, not him.
But I'm not angry. I just want my money for the clothes that I spent.
You're not going to get it from him. He's not responsible for your clothes. Cross it off your list after 2-3 years. That's $700. Cross it off because you don't know where the clothes are. They were on some other prisoner who had to appear in court for robbery and assault and who didn't have a nice enough mother to buy him clothes. So he got your clothes, or they were donated to a parish, or they were donated someplace else. Mr. Pilgrim is not responsible for the clothes. The last person who you saw in possession of the clothes was your son.
Correct.
Goodbye. Case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I'm disheartened because the amount that I spent on my son's clothes, and I did give them to the lawyer.
You know, it was sad for her and her whole family, the whole incident.
He should have been responsible to retrieve my property.
And I agree with the judge that I think she just had some misdirected anger.
You know, I think just the takeaway from this case is that people have an easier time dealing with the emotion of anger than sadness. And we see it all the time. You know, if somebody passes away, the grief can overwhelm you. But if you can find a target for your anger, anger is the easier emotion to deal with, because the plaintiff in this case seemed like an intelligent, put-together lady. Certainly the family came together. I'm certain that this lawyer was not inexpensive. But the bottom line is that she doesn't have the companionship of this son anymore. Because I can't think of any other reason that over 2 years you maintain this sort of vendetta for used clothing. So, lady has to put her anger where it belongs, which is the person who committed a murder and who not only ruined his own life, but probably impacted his whole family. Because that's what happens when you go to jail, you impact the whole family. Sure.
Robin Shepler is suing her former neighbor, Garrett Tappendorf, for a mobility scooter and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3053, Shepler versus Tappendorf.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Shepler, am I correct that the two of you were neighbors in a mobile home community?
Correct.
How long had you been neighbors in the community where you lived?
2 years.
Did the two of you ever see each other socially?
Just the two of us?
Just the two of you.
One time we went for a Friday night fish dinner, yes.
Other than the one-time Friday night fish dinner, did you ever go out socially with him? Either two of you or another couple or...
With other neighbors in the mobile home park.
Your case is about a scooter that you sold to the defendant.
Correct.
I want you to tell me exactly what kind of scooter it was, because I wasn't able to get enough information about it.
It's called a Golden Companion 2 scooter.
Where did you get it from?
My father bought himself a scooter and a wheelchair. He never used them before he moved into a
So you got it from your father?
Correct.
When? What year?
2018.
And how long had he had it before he gave it to you?
3 years.
And where did he get it from?
He purchased it from a connection he had at the VA center.
From a private person?
No, it was from the company directly.
Any luck?
So I just need to know if it's a 3-wheel or a 4-wheel.
3-wheel.
Then I have for a new one from Golden Tech, I believe.
Well, this one's 8 years old.
Well, I have what a new one is, and then I have what some eBay offers are.
Good.
But 2756
is new.
Is new. And then I could look up some used ones if you want, just to get.
Could you do that from 2015? I would appreciate it. Okay. At the time that you claimed the defendant purchased this scooter from you, was it running?
No.
In what month and year did he purchase it from you?
May of 2021.
And how long had it not been running? You had had it since 2018.
As far as I know, it just needed 2 new batteries.
It's not what I asked you.
Okay.
How long had it not been running?
I'm not aware.
So as far as you know, it had not been running since 2018.
Yes.
Tell me what the arrangement you made with Mr. Tappendorf was with regard to the scooter. He said he wanted it. You said...
Well, it's not running. I wanted to get new batteries for it and sell it myself for about $3,000.
Yeah, well, that would be hard since it's 8 years old and the new one costs less than $3,000.
So I said, we can work out a deal.
Do you understand what I just said?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So he said he's interested in buying it, and I know he's a handyman. So I asked if he would be willing to install a dishwasher in my home and a water softener in my home, and we could work out a discounted price for buying the scooter from me.
So what price did you work out?
At that time, I had mentioned $1,500.
Is that what he agreed to?
It was a verbal agreement. There was no talk on price.
No, there cannot be a contract without terms. Have to be terms. You say this is what you want. He says this is what I'll pay you. And I will do something to reduce that price by so much. Do you understand?
I do.
Okay. So far, we don't have a contract.
No.
In what month and year did you take possession of the scooter, sir?
I believe Robin is right. May of 2021.
How much money did you give her for it?
None.
Did you ever give her any money for it?
Yes.
When?
Close to 8 months to a year later.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding you giving her money for it.
Well, I thought we already had it worked out with all the labor that I did. And my girlfriend took it down to the mailbox. And as soon as she left, Robin's right across the street. She come running over and she said she wanted more money.
Okay. Well, I'm missing that there's a whole piece missing there, sir. 8 months later, you gave her money.
Yes, I did.
How much?
$500.
Okay. Sarah, in your
I looked
adventure on the machine, did you come up with a price for a used?
Yes. So there's actually one right here on eBay that's the same 3 wheels that needs batteries for $350. And then there's another one for $250 and they range up to about $750.
Your Honor, I have the information on that too from 2 companies in La Crosse.
No, I don't need any information from you. I have a very trusted clerk here who's just looked it up and indicated that for a used scooter, the range is from $250 for that year model to $750 for that year model, right?
That's what she looked up. This was an unused, never used scooter.
That's what she looked up.
Yes.
Also, if I may ask you, Your Honor, or show you, it is a manufactured.
So far, you're not losing, sir. So I don't know what you want to contribute to this.
I have an old flip phone with the date on it. It was manufactured 05/28 of 2007.
Okay, so it wasn't 2015, it was 2007.
That's what I found on the scooter.
Kevin, can I see the document that the defendant referenced?
Okay, I'll show you.
No, you had it right over there.
This one?
Yeah.
Well, that's just, here, it's on my phone, Your Honor, and I don't know if you can look at it. I just wrote it down so I had it in front of me, but
okay.
I have it on this phone. If you can operate it, I don't know.
I can't operate it, and I don't want to operate it here.
Okay.
Return this to him. Anyway, the $500 that you gave to her is more than reasonable for the scooter.
Robin Shepler claims her former neighbor, Garrett Tappendorf, harassed her for months and owes for a mobility scooter.
Now, you did other work for her. Tell me what other work you did for her.
The work that I performed for Robin was she had no dishwasher there. So I cut the cabinet out, prepared a spot for the dishwasher, had to go through more cabinets to get the plumbing over to the sink. Then it needed to have electrical work to power that up. And she asked me to install another electrical outlet for her microwave.
Now, Miss Shepler, you seem to acknowledge that the defendant did, in fact, install a dishwasher for you.
I did some of the work as well for that.
Well, that's your home.
Yes.
It's not his home.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do as much work as you like. And this was part of the deal for the scooter, which he paid you $500 for, which already covers the cost of the scooter. So now he's working off nothing. So he installed a dishwasher for you.
He did sub-quality work, though. Well, I have photos if you'd like to see.
I don't want to see, madam. If you want a professional installation, call a professional. If you want your neighbor to do it in exchange for a scooter, then you don't complain that you don't like the work. Does it wash dishes?
I had to replace it. No.
It was used, Your Honor.
What?
It was a used dishwasher.
Yeah, replacing the dishwasher. Does the current dishwasher work?
Yes.
Is the current dishwasher a new one?
Yes.
Was the one he installed a used one?
Yes.
There we go. So far, he's paid for the scooter. Punitive damages for harassment. You want to go into that, Ms. Shepler?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I knew him for 6 years prior to being neighbors. In that time, we would have community fires, bonfires, and he had this habit of turning his music up so loud.
Just a second. Give me a month and year.
This specific time for the last time was on March 16th. This was during the day.
Just March 16th, 2023. He played his music too loud.
I was working, and I couldn't do my job across the street because his music was so loud.
Next.
So I called the police.
And
the next day I came home from work, I get out of my car, and he calls me
that's a nasty word.
No, I did not.
Just a second. And
other vulgar terms.
And
he had the habit of standing outside urinating where my grandchildren would see him.
Well, tell me when. Give me
every other day he did it.
Well, then you shouldn't have let him in your house to install a dishwasher.
He also had...
Just a second. So my question to you is, if it was vulgar then, which to me it would have been, why did you let him in your house to install a dishwasher?
I was not aware of those actions that he had at that time.
Okay. Next.
The harassment comes from after he was served his small claims case that I filed. I witnessed him putting spotlights out in his front flower bed and running extension cords to power them, and I kind of wondered what he was doing. At 6:30, I proceeded to go to an evening activity. I came home at 10:30 at night. I turned the corner onto my street to see the entire street lit up because these spotlights are shining on my house. I proceeded to call the police. The police came within 11 minutes. I have documents of the police. I have a video of the police going to the defendant's house, in which they spoke to him, and within 3 minutes, the lights went off. But I had my camera rolling, and I could see the police were standing 10 feet away from the door. Next thing I know, the police are coming over to my house to talk to me. And when they came to my door, I turned on my front light. When the police came, they asked me to turn off the lights so they could talk to me. And I told them, this man is harassing me. I'm afraid of him. He has a problem with alcohol.
Why did you file a small claims case against him? I don't understand. You were paid more than the scooter was worth between the $500 he gave, plus in addition to that, he did some work in your house, whether you liked the work he did, whether you didn't like the work that he did. I'm not understanding why you filed, because you say this harassment started after you filed the small claims case.
Yes.
And I don't understand why you filed a small claims case against him.
I feel it was a brand new, unused scooter that happened to be 6 years old at the time. So I think the value was higher than $500. And I brought over a flyer to him, which I have here. We sat down and we discussed it, that $1,000 would be the going price for what he'd owed for the scooter, having done the work.
Okay. First of all, whatever it was a plus item for you. It was given to you by your father who couldn't use it anymore. You don't know what he paid for it. He says from the scooter, it was built in 2007, despite the fact that you say your father bought it new in 2015, which I'm not so sure about. But the highest price for that scooter is $750. The highest. The lowest is $225 in the same year. So you got paid for it. I don't understand why a busy woman like you would waste your time. I just don't understand. You seem like an intelligent woman. You have a counterclaim. It is your claim, Mr. Tappendorf, that because the plaintiff called the police on you several times, it caused you to be evicted from your home.
That's true.
Show me.
I filed a counterclaim in the amount of $1,800.
I have it. And it says punitive damages for losing home and moving expenses, which I read your counterclaim, and you say because of her constant complaints about you.
I don't have any proof.
Well, if you don't have,
I know,
Mr. Tappendorf, you know what happens when you don't have proof?
You get nothing.
Right. Right. Because you filed the counterclaim, and I can't tell you what happened. You have to have proof and be able to show me that the reason you were asked to leave the leased property that your mobile home was on was because of the plaintiff. It's possible that it was, because the police, based upon what she tells me, were called twice.
It was more than that.
That may be more of a reason. You don't have to help his case.
I've never had a ticket, never had a warning. I just had a warning one time that the radio was too loud, please turn it off. These lights that she's talking about
I'm not interested.
False.
Sir, all you have to do is show me that you were evicted from the property because of the plaintiff.
It's all hearsay then, Your Honor.
Well, then I have a problem.
I do have proof of what he harassed me with.
Just a second.
And later today,
according to what I read,
Robin Shepler claims her former neighbor, Garrett Tappendorf, harassed her for months and owes for a mobility scooter.
He has no case. Why are you helping him?
I'm not helping him. I have my own case against.
No, your case is dismissed against him.
Thank you.
Because you have no case. You were paid for a scooter more than handsomely. You had work done in your house. You were paid far more than the value of it over the internet for a scooter that's between 8 and 14 years old, more than handsomely, and you had work, and he did work for you. That you may not have liked the work, but he did the work, and you installed a new dishwasher that works. And he did the cabinetry. You may not like the way he did it, but you installed the dishwasher there, and it took time. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're done here. Go, be well, have a happy life. You're not living there anymore?
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
Good. Are you living someplace else that you like?
More peaceful place.
Good. Glad to hear it. That's
He's
it.
not
We're done.
supposed to be in our park, and he continues to.
This court is adjourned.
He was in front of my camera riding in circles. I'm on Robin's camera. I'm on candid camera, doing burnouts with my scooter.
It goes 4 miles an hour.
He taunted me with the scooter, and he knew he owed me more money on it.
I have another girlfriend that lives in the neighborhood, and they're all jealous of her, and they just want me out of there now.
Well, he's been evicted from the park, and all of the people are very happy that he's no longer there.
That defendant has definitely watched you before. He knew he had no proof, and he knew he was going home because of it. But I mean, I guess at least be honest. When you come in, he knew he didn't have it, but
what do I have? Got nothing.
yeah, at least he knew it was hearsay, and he knew you weren't hearing it.
I actually thought he was pretty sharp.
Yeah, but I think, she was adequately paid, and he did work. She didn't like it, hire a professional.
Yeah, well, you put in a used dishwasher in the work that he created. So he really more than paid for it.
Yeah.
There's something else there. There's some other annoyance there. I'm not exactly sure what it is between the two of them.
You don't want to know.
And I don't. Yes.
Case 30.
Britt is standing in for bailiff Kevin Roscoe, and law clerk Alexi Mincer is sitting in for law clerk Sarah Rose. Tanisha Merriweather is suing her ex-boyfriend, Ty Womack, for a business loan he failed to pay back.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 3070, Merriweather versus Womack.
Thank you. Miss Merriweather, you and the defendant were sort of briefly in a relationship. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it is your claim that during the course of that relationship, you made a loan to him.
That's correct.
And that loan was to start a business.
Yes.
He hasn't paid you back.
No, he
That's why
hasn't.
you're here. Mr. Womack says that you did, in fact, give him that money, which you're going to show me where you took it from, right?
Yes.
That he didn't start the business because he got preoccupied with other things.
Correct.
But it was a gift, right?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Womack, when and where did you meet the plaintiff?
We met online and we started dating.
On what online?
Just online.
Isn't there a site, a place, a Facebook?
An
Where did you
online.
meet?
It's an online dating app called Black.
And when did you meet?
May 2022.
That's when you first met online.
Yes.
When did you meet in person?
It was toward the end of May, so maybe like May 29th or something.
And you both live in the same area?
Correct.
Where do you live?
I live in Los Angeles.
And you, sir?
Inglewood.
What kind of work do you do, Miss Merriweather?
I work for a reentry program, so we assist formerly incarcerated individuals. So we help them with housing, employment, and education.
And what do you do, sir?
Freelance production, so pretty much all of this that's going on.
Doing what?
Production coordinator, writer, everything that is associated with film and TV.
Who do you live with, sir?
Myself.
Who do you live with?
Myself.
Ever been married?
No.
You?
No.
Have kids?
Yes, one.
How old?
12.
Boy or a girl?
It's a girl.
Lives with you?
Yes, she does.
And you, sir?
3.
How old are they?
17, 15, and 6.
Are they also in Los Angeles?
They are.
Do you see them?
Often.
Who do they live with?
Their mothers. But each one has their own room at my house.
In your house?
Yes.
You pay support for them?
No, we don't have support set up.
Okay, so the two of you met online in May of 22, went out the end of May for the first time. At that time, Mr. Womack, what kind of work were you doing in May?
Production.
And according to what I read, that sort of dried up and you were blowing through your savings.
I wouldn't say that. I did wrap a show, and Miss Mayweather asked me what my plans were or if I had any business aspirations. I told her.
What month was this?
I'd like to say the end of 2022.
So you were dating from May of 2022 through December?
Yes.
Were you and Miss Merriweather, at least on your part, exclusive in your dating?
No.
Were you?
Yes.
Did you know he was not?
No.
From May of 2022 to December, did you ever tell Miss Merriweather that you were seeing other people?
I let her know that dating was seeing other people and that we were dating. We weren't in an exclusive relationship.
Well, tell me how you explained that to her. I'm just curious because this $5,000 is a whole bunch of money. So I would like to know how you explained to her that she was just a date.
That we were dating. And in dating, you date other people. You see other people.
Well, I want to know how you convey that to Miss Merriweather, because this comes in a little bit later in your story, sir. She said she didn't know that you were dating other people.
We never had any talks of exclusivity. We never had any
That's
talks.
not my question.
I don't know how to explain it, but I just let her know that we were dating, and she was free to do whatever she wanted to do.
But you also told me.
Shh. I'm getting it.
Okay.
When you had this discussion about this brainstorm that you were doing about how to add some money to your bank account. You're in the production business. What do you know about the used car business? Is not an answer.
I've been in
cars too, but I don't know anything about flipping cars. I just know that I drive a car. What do you know about it?
I've gone to school for mechanics, so I know how to fix a car.
Great.
But about selling, I haven't done it. So it
About
was just,
doing
it was
anything,
just a
how to
new-
buy, where to buy, how to sell.
I have attended auctions before, and I have purchased cars from auctions before.
Oh, good. And so you must have told that to Miss Merriweather.
I did.
Okay, because she wouldn't have guessed that. For instance, I wouldn't say to, my memory is not what it used to be, but if I were dating a guy who was in production, all different kinds, I wouldn't say, by the way, did you ever fix cars? Do you understand? Yeah. So that had to come up in a conversation somehow.
It did.
I want you to tell me how.
We were talking about
this is the end of the year.
Different things that I've done. I've mentioned different jobs that I had.
Well, how did it come up? You must have said, you know what, my job wrapped and I don't have a steady income now, and I have 3 kids and I have to support myself and they all have a room in my house. It had to have something. You weren't living together, you each have your own space, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it had to come up somehow. It's not a guessing game. She wasn't like Johnny Carson and Karnak. What's in the envelope? The answer to the question is, it had to come up by you saying something to her, sir.
So we were having a conversation about the show wrapping. She asked me if I had anything lined up, any business ideas that I may have had. I shared them with her.
No, and what did you say to her? So she said, what's lined up? Your show wrapped, what's lined up?
I have an idea for purchasing cars and flipping cars.
You said to her?
Yes.
Okay.
And I asked her, are you asking me out of curiosity, or are you asking me because you want to help? And she said a little of both.
Why would you ask somebody that you were just dating for financial help?
Because again, we're just dating. So if
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Why would a person of character ask a woman who he was just dating for money?
Weather claims her ex-boyfriend, Ty Womack, owes for a loan she gave him for a car flipping business.
A grown man ask a person who is self-supporting, takes care of a child, who lives with her full time, why would you ask her for money?
I didn't ask her for money. She offered the money to me.
Well, how does that happen, sir?
Over the course of the conversation. And then she let me know, that business venture you were into, I'm going to give you the money.
Miss Merriweather, you have a 12-year-old daughter.
Yes.
She go to school?
Yes.
She does okay in school?
Yes, she does.
She have plans on going on to higher education?
Yes, she does.
Yeah. You have all of her college money put away?
Not all of it. No, I do not.
You saved some?
I'm saving, yes.
Saving so that your daughter can go to school?
Yes.
You wouldn't give somebody that you were casually dating, who was dating other people, money just as a gift?
No, I would not.
Yeah. Why would you do that? You don't look like an idiot.
I'm not.
Mr. Womack, I can understand that if you had an exclusive relationship and you both thought that you were going to build a life together and you were struggling financially and you had a discussion about how you could improve your financial profile, that I can understand. But so let's see what you told me, sir. Because this is all about loan, gift, loan. She thought you were in an exclusive relationship. You, not so much. You had an idea to flip cars to make some money. According to you, she said, I can help, right? With that business, right?
Yes.
Not to give it to you so that you could support your kids or to go out and find a new girlfriend, which you did. According to you, that's what you did. So let me understand. You said to her, I'm going to use the money to start a business to flip cars. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
But then you didn't. Now, you give me a whole lot of reasons in your answer as to why you didn't. So let me see if I remember. You said you were preoccupied with your mother's illness, right? And then she started to ask you a whole lot of things while you were preoccupied with your mother's illness, like where to go to dinner, or were you going, I don't know, to Disneyland, or other that you considered silly things considering your situation with your mother, right? That's what you say in your answer.
Yes.
But you weren't so preoccupied with your mother that you didn't find another girlfriend, because that's what you also say in your answer. So somehow, between taking care of your mother and this alleged business, you found time to find a new girlfriend.
Correct.
And you never did buy a car or start the business. That's what you also said.
First off, she was
That's
never
just
my
a second.
She was never my
Just,
girlfriend.
that's not what I asked you. I didn't say she was your girlfriend. I didn't say she was your girlfriend. Would that be correct? Let's read the question back to him, Whitney, that I posed to him, because he didn't give me the answer to my question.
But you weren't so preoccupied with your mother that you didn't find another girlfriend, because that's what you also say in your answer. Somehow between taking care of your mother and this alleged business, you found time to find a new girlfriend, correct?
Not a new girlfriend. She was never my girlfriend to start with.
You mean she was never, but you found...
So in dating other people...
Just strike the word new. It was a sufficient girlfriend for you to put in your answer.
So while dating other people?
No. Not what I asked you, sir. You want me to read the question again?
Sure.
You managed to find another girlfriend.
No.
No. Did you buy a car?
No.
I'm going to ask you $24,000 question, or excuse me, the $64,000 question. What did you do with her money?
I used it towards my mother's funeral.
Really? Is that what she gave you the money for?
No, but
then
she
you
also
took it,
let me know that I could use the money for other things. And I told her I was trying to hold on to it.
Just a second. Miss Merriweather, did he ever tell you he used that money for his mother's funeral?
No, he didn't. No.
We weren't talking at that time.
When did your mother die?
March this year.
So she gave you the money in what month? What month did she give you the money?
December, January.
Look
December.
there.
December 2022.
Now, you had December, so you had Christmas for your kids, right? You had January, whole month of January. So what you're telling me is you didn't spend any of that money in December. You didn't spend any of the money in January. You didn't spend any of the money in February. You saved it all up for your mother's funeral.
December and January, I'm not sure if you remember, it was really rainy, and we had months of rain, like 2 solid months of rain. There were no auctions to go to because they're outdoors.
And?
So I couldn't go.
You are so lucky. You are so lucky. You should kiss the ground that you're standing on. He has 3 children who have 2 or 3 mothers. I know at least 2. 3 mothers? Right. And he took your money and spent it on himself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Brothers and sisters, Mr. Womack?
I do.
How many?
Too many to count.
Too many to count. My God, I can count all the way up to 100. You're a hustler, Mr. Womack. Can I see the $5,000 that you gave him? You're a hustler, and you should thank your lucky stars, madam, that you didn't involve him in your daughter's life, because it would be a terrible thing to involve a hustler in your daughter's life. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. We're finished.
Thanks. Great.
Court is adjourned.
It was a gift. She gave me the money.
He knew that he owed me the money that I loaned him, and it was not a gift for him to use for his mother's funeral.
She gave me the money. And I told her once I got money from the business that I would pay her back, or she could become a partner in the business.
No, we had a conversation about him starting a business. He came to pick the money up from me, and I gave him cash for him to start his business and also repay me.
And had I been with her, she'd never ask me for that money ever again.
No, he owes me, and it was for a business that he started. It was an investment for him.
Out of the blue, she showed up at my house with some subpoenas.
He didn't respond back. He blocked me, and that was it. I'm not going to loan out any more money to anyone I'm dating.
Okay, my clerk. So this is my take on this case. I made a decision today based on what I perceived as the facts and the relationship between these 2 people. The fact that I think she sort of got hoodwinked. So now I want you to give me a legal rationale for what I just did.
Sure. So he accepted money for a car flipping business, and he's under a legal obligation to exercise best efforts to put that money towards his car flipping business. And he used it for reasons outside of that. This was not a no strings attached gift. This was for car flipping, and he has to use it for that.
I buy that. Thank you.
Case number 3.
Did she file an eviction notice against you?
Yes, ma'am.
She was fussing, yelling, and cussing and threatening to beat me up.
She still has property there.
Oh, yes.
No, ma'am.
She left a dog.
You took a dog with you?
Yes.
She had 2 dogs. Those dogs had puppies, and she ran a little farm out of my house.
This is Judy Justice. Keila Bell is suing her former landlord, Janita Akins, for filing false evictions, slander, and harassment.
All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3076, Bell versus Akins.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Bell, Miss Akins was your landlord for a period of time.
Yes, ma'am.
Were there two separate houses? She lived in one, you lived in the other?
Yes, ma'am.
But you were next door neighbors.
Right next door.
So you have a rental home.
Yes, ma'am.
How large a home is it?
It's a 2-bedroom.
Who lived there with you?
Me, my daughter, and my 21-year-old son.
You have dogs.
I have 2.
When did you first lease the house from Miss Akins?
I leased from Miss Akins September 29th of 2022.
And what was the rent you were paying?
$87.
A month?
Yes, ma'am.
So that means you were receiving Section 8 housing, they were paying the rest?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much rent were you receiving?
A total of $750.
What does your son do?
My son works at a Steak and Shake restaurant in our hometown.
And your daughter?
She works also.
At what?
Clothing store.
And you?
Steak and Shake also.
So you have 3 full-time employed people living in your house?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you qualify for Section 8 housing?
Well, everybody at the same time just started working at the home. I no longer receive Section 8 at this time.
Well, I know that you don't because you say that you don't, and that's part of your complaint against her, that because of the fact that she filed all these eviction notices against you, you lost your Section 8 housing. That's what you say in your complaint.
I let it go.
Well, I just want to know how you were getting it in the first place.
Yeah, I didn't have employment when I started receiving it.
So it wasn't because of her that you lost your Section 8 housing. It was because there were 3 employed adults.
No.
So it wasn't because of her.
It was because of her.
Impossible. That's impossible.
Okay.
All 3 of you were working when you lost your Section 8 housing.
Yeah.
Then with 3 adults working, the government shouldn't be paying $750 or $700 for your rent, and you were only paying $87.
Well, it ended up changing from $750. Well, from my $87, I ended up paying $350. When my income went up, I ended up paying the $350 in rent to Miss Akins.
How long did you live there?
A year.
So I'm crossing out the part of your complaint that alleges that because of her conduct, you lost your Section 8 housing. You lost your Section 8 housing because you didn't qualify for it.
No, I still had it.
What I'm saying to you as a taxpayer, you shouldn't have had it. 3 adult people working in your household, and the rent is relatively minimal. $750 is a relatively minimal rent. It means that each of you were paying $200, about $200 a month rent. I'm certain that even with minimum wage jobs, that's a reasonable rent. Okay, so she filed several eviction notices against you.
Mm-hmm.
When, for the first time, did she file an eviction notice against you? And can I see the papers, please?
I found drugs in the kitchen.
No. You're not answering my question. My question was, when did she first file an eviction notice against you? Mm-hmm. That requires a date when she filed an eviction notice against you.
11/1. I have a few of them, Your Honor.
No, when was the first time? Just answer my question. When was the first time she filed an eviction notice against you?
October the 15th, I believe it was.
Okay. October of what year?
2022.
May I see it, please? The basis for it. Did you say October of 22 or September of 22?
October.
October. So a month after you moved in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It was filed the 26th of October.
Okay.
21st, I'm sorry.
Okay. The hearing date was November 16th. This is what you allege. Illegal drugs in unit. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Ms. Bell had called me saying that she had found fentanyl in the cabinets. This was done over a text message. She over text, between texting and calling. And she said that there was fentanyl in a sandwich bag. I have a picture of it. It's kind of, it's only in black and white, but.
Okay, so she called you and said she found drugs in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and go ahead.
I didn't believe her because the house had been empty for 4 months before she moved in it. And it had been cleaned several times.
Miss Bell, let me tell you this. It doesn't make sense for her to call you and tell you that she found
this bag of drugs in the house if they were hers. Do you understand?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So I don't understand, as one of the causes to evict her, you say illegal drugs in unit.
That wasn't the first cause for trouble between her and I. The first was, and it was coupled together within maybe a 2 or 3 week span. So she was smoking in the unit. I had called her within 3 weeks of her moving into the unit. I had called the police on her twice already.
For what?
For threatening me, cussing me out, coming into the unit. I believe that she was coming up with reasons to try to get money out of me.
No. Okay. Well, when was the first time you had trouble with her?
It was October the 14th.
Okay.
That I called the police on her.
For what?
I called the police on her because she was fussing, yelling, and cussing and threatening to beat me up.
Keila Bell claims her former landlord, Janita Akins, filed false evictions and harassed her. Janita is countersuing Keila for a water heater and property damage.
Do you remember what that dispute was about, Miss Bell?
The drugs in the kitchen cabinet.
That was about the drugs. Well, explain it to me.
When I called Miss Akins and explained to her about drugs being in my kitchen cabinet, I was convicted over 15 years ago for drugs. It was the way I chose, to support me and my children. I made a vow that when I got taken away from my children, I would never do it again. So I haven't touched drugs. When I called Miss Akins and explained to her the situation, I felt like I was taken advantage of.
Do you think she knew that there were drugs in your house?
Honestly, I do.
Well, what would make you think that? Did she know about your history?
She does.
Did you tell her?
She's a friend of my aunt.
This is a problem, Miss Akins, this first eviction notice. I don't know what antisocial behavior is, breaking the lease. What is that? Because illegal drugs, I don't believe, were hers. The house may have been vacant for 4 months, but it's also possible that somebody else got in there. There is no question in my mind that she would not call you and tell you that she found drugs in the house.
Your Honor, can I just say that the house was a Section 8 house. The house had been inspected several times.
I don't care. I don't care.
The inspector?
I don't care. I don't know what the inspector did, whether he opened up cabinets or whatever. It just doesn't make sense for the plaintiff to call you and tell you that she found drugs in the house, especially since she didn't want to move then. She didn't want to move out of the house. So why would she call you and say there were drugs in the house? I mean, I can understand if she called and said, listen, there are drugs in the house and I don't like what's going on here, so I want to move. But it doesn't make sense for her to call you.
She didn't say she wanted to move.
No, I said to you, it doesn't make sense for her to call you. Okay, so illegal drugs, forget it. Disturbing the peace, that's when you got into an altercation with her about the drugs in the house, and yes, I can see she's emotional about that. Antisocial behavior is a very large thing, so any judge would have thrown out this complaint, which I assume that they did because it was nonsense.
Yes.
Okay, so we have one nonsense eviction notice. When was the next eviction notice?
The next one was 11/1.
When was the next eviction notice you filed against her, Miss Akins?
I filed that personally. I hadn't had a lawyer an attorney.
I don't care if you had a lawyer.
So
it's nonsense.
Right. So I do believe the next one was in November.
Okay.
I do believe the next one was in November because I had filed that one incorrectly.
Okay. May I see it, please? Thank you. Okay, so this one says non-payment. Did you pay your rent in December?
Yes, ma'am.
What non-payment did you sue her for?
Keila was constantly late with the...
She only lived there for 2 months at the time.
Right, so...
She lived there October, November, and this was filed December 6th. So what non-payment?
She was late with that month's rent.
Just a second. This was filed December 6th.
December 6th, right. Rent is due on the 1st.
Okay. Did you get paid from Section 8?
Yeah, I do believe.
Just a second. So you got paid from Section 8, and at that time, Section 8 was paying the vast majority of it. She was only paying $87. So there had to be another reason that you were moving to evict her, other than this minuscule payment, and it was only the 6th of the month.
It was also about her pit bulls, right? I had asked her when we set up the lease, and I met with her, before she moved in, she told me she had a dog, and I accepted Keila. The only way that I accepted Keila was that if she had a kennel in the back, put in the backyard for her 2 pit bulls.
I have a grandson.
Was it in the lease?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see the lease? Kevin, would you show this to Miss Bell, please, and ask her if that's her signature and that's the lease?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when you moved in, you knew you had to have a kennel for your 2 pit bulls.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you put it in?
That week.
The week that you moved in?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No, Your Honor. That didn't happen. She didn't move a kennel into the backyard until April of this year.
Your Honor, I've got a video.
I'd like to take a look
That's
at
from April of this year.
Miss Bell, just make sure that what you're showing me is 2 weeks after you moved in. Do you understand?
Okay.
Don't show it to me. Don't show it to me unless the kennel was put in within 2 weeks of your moving in.
Okay, this doesn't have a date, but this is her son attacking me when the kennel was being put in the backyard.
In April.
Just a second. Month and year.
Okay.
Listen to me carefully, Miss Bell.
Okay.
Let's not play with each other. Was the kennel put in April of 2023?
No, ma'am. The kennel was put in October when I moved in.
Okay. And did you purchase the kennel? Did you purchase the kennel?
No, I did, but I bought it from a friend.
Miss Bell, you know we're in trouble here.
I don't have a receipt for it.
This last one was filed in December of 2022, and it alleges violation of the lease. Was the violation of the lease in 2022 that you're referring to the lack of a kennel in the house for the 2 pit bulls?
Yes, ma'am, that's part of it.
Well, the other one is utilities shut off. What does that mean?
So her utilities had gotten shut off. When the gas company came back out to restore service, it done something to my hot water tank, to the hot water tank. She or someone with her lit a self-igniting hot water tank, right, that destroyed the hot water tank in the property. So I then had to shell out
I got a red
almost $900 to replace the hot water tank.
So far, I don't believe that you put in a kennel when you moved in, so she's allowed to file this eviction notice. When was the next one? I want you to understand that I believe
yes, ma'am,
that you didn't put in a kennel for the dogs
I hear you.
until April of 2023. You hear me?
Keila Bell is accusing her former landlord, Janita Akins, of harassment and filing multiple false evictions. Janita is countersuing Keila for a water heater and property damage.
I want you to understand that I believe
yes, ma'am,
that you didn't put in a kennel for the dogs
I hear you.
until April of 2023. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Okay. When was the next one?
The next is so many, Your Honor.
Oh, that's okay. I'm telling you, you were still there and you didn't put in a kennel until April of 2023. You were in violation of your lease for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
what
were in
it
violation of your lease for a very long time. Because I wouldn't like to live next door to you with 2 pit bulls roaming around the backyard.
Right.
Anything else?
Not with the eviction.
Great. So your next cause of action is slander, defamation of character. Tell me what that was.
She made a few Facebook posts using my name.
In what way?
Saying how much I owed in rent, saying that I was unable to pay it. And then there's another one where she said that I tore her house up.
That's what she's counterclaiming for.
Yeah.
So far, none of that is slanderous. Yeah, she lets her animals tear up the property. Miss Bell?
Yes, ma'am.
She says back here in August of this year, she lies about it, but fails to inform the magistrate landlord she lets her animals tear up the property. But does she want repairs done? No. Why, you say? She engineers lies on Facebook to justify her actions and not giving me access to the property so it can look like I'm not doing the repairs.
What she put on Facebook?
Yeah, I know it's what you put on Facebook. Your case is dismissed. All right, so we're finished with you. Money owed for defamation, property damage. How did she damage your property? That's all I'm interested in.
She lit the self-igniting hot water tank.
Okay, what else?
Like, I had the attorney's fees from her.
What attorney's fees?
The attorney's fees about this case. They were $875.
For what?
For
what case are you talking about?
I'm talking about the small claims court case. And we also talked about tenants issues. We talked about, you know, what I would be liable for. She filed an answer.
All right, very, very nice. It's all very, very nice. You're living someplace else now?
Yes, ma'am.
You have another tenant in the house?
No, ma'am. She hasn't released tenancy from the property, which is why I have to keep putting notices on the door. So I can stay legal.
Stop for a second. What do you mean she hasn't released?
She hasn't given me the keys back to the property. She hasn't told me that she was moving from the property. My attorney called and, you know, made contact to ask and had me ask her, and she hasn't moved anything.
You mean she still has property there?
Oh, yes, ma'am. She still has property there.
What does she have?
She has a bed, a dresser.
Just a second. Do you still have any property that you want in the house?
No, ma'am.
You don't?
No.
When you moved out, did you leave things of yours there?
No.
What about a bed?
No.
A dog?
What?
She left the dog there for 10 days with no heat and said that I exposed the dog to 20-degree weather on Facebook. She said that.
Did you leave a dog there?
No, ma'am.
You took a dog with you?
Yes.
Okay, you have any proof?
I have both.
Did she have 3 dogs?
I have 2.
No, did she have 3?
She actually had 9. She had 2 dogs. Those dogs had puppies, and she ran a little farm out of my house.
Listen to me. You've both submitted yourself to my jurisdiction.
Yes.
Say nothing. She has now gone from the house. I find that she is acknowledged that she is no longer a tenant of yours.
Cool.
Anything in the house that you do not want to keep, that you think was hers, you can dispose of. Sell it, throw it away, change the locks on the door, the tumbler. If she didn't give you the keys back, change the tumbler. I will prepare that order, and I will sign it, and you agree with it, correct?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
She's going to dispose of any property that's there. She's going to change the tumbler this week, because he should do that anyway.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
She don't own the house.
I don't care who owns the house. She was your landlord. That's what she says. So if she wants to do that, she can do that. But you have nothing there that you claim is yours anymore, and you are no longer a tenant in that house.
Correct.
So whoever owns the house can get rid of whatever they want, can change the locks on the doors. Do you understand?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Perfect. We're finished. We'll prepare the order for you. Thank you. Bye.
This court is adjourned.
Overall, I think it was fair.
I like Judge Judy. I think that she is fair, which is why I agreed to come.
It was ongoing harassment, the everyday coming home with a paper posted to the door.
I got a 24-hour notice that I put on the door so I could go in and check the heat, and discovered that she had left the dog there after she had moved, after she had transferred her utilities.
The only dog that was in the house was her.
Well, she left the dog there 10 days.
My daughter was burned by a stove that was on the property, 3rd-degree burns.
You know, I'm sorry your daughter got hurt, if she got hurt. I wasn't there. I think stoves are usually user-friendly.
She said that she's not on the lease, so she wasn't going to replace it.
The stove was her responsibility.
I will never rent from her again, and hopefully anybody that sees it runs.
I am so elated that she's gone.
I'm just in a better place.
What I would say is, America, you know, don't do drugs.
So I have to tell you one of my pet peeves as both somebody on the bench, but more than that, just a citizen. There is a swath of people who are Americans who live in this country that need assistance, who work, some can't work, but who work and can't quite make it. I can't tell you how it bothers me when somebody has 3 employed adults in their house and applies for and accepted for government-assisted housing. She knew she wasn't entitled to it. You know, you could tell from her look that she knew she wasn't entitled to it. And it's just too bad that the government is so inept that it can't ferret out those people who need and those people who want. Well, there's a big difference. Need and want are 2 different things. It just constantly surprises me, the inefficiency of government. And really, the way some people will spend more time scheming to get what they're not entitled to than they will spend moving their lives forward in a positive direction.
It is a very tricky system. You know, I've dabbled in just seeing what the process would be like of applying for any sort of government assistance and just to try and understand litigants a bit better who have gone through it. And it's complicated. It's nuanced and complicated and online, and there are multiple forms, and this one has to go before this one. I feel like if you're able to complete that, you have a skill that could be used in a productive way to make it so that you don't need to fix
and damages from an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 3012, Green versus Baguez.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so today we're going to learn a little bit about junior baseball.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know a lot about it, but I do have one grandchild who plays that sport very well. Been to a couple of those games. I know how hot everybody gets. You, Mr. Green, according to what I read in your papers, are an umpire.
Yes, ma'am.
And you've been doing that work for, I think, 15 years. Is that what?
Approximately 15 years.
Tell me about the league that you umpire for.
I work for an organization, and I'm pretty much an independent person, but they call me and let me know what games I have, so it's up to me so I can take as many games as I want. I usually average about 10 games on the weekend. I usually only do it on the weekend. It's kind of...
Do you get paid for it?
Yes, I do.
How much do you get paid for umpiring a game?
It depends on the age division. So normally if you do anywhere from 9 to 12 you'll get...
9 to 12 years of the players?
That's the player. That's the player that's playing. So you'll get $56. And if you do the older children, that goes from 13 up to, I think we do up to 17, you get $61 a game.
Okay, nice supplemental income and have some fun when you're outside.
Yeah, that's my supplemental income. Yeah. I actually have a regular full-time job.
I assume you did.
Yeah.
And you have a team?
Correct. I manage the team. I've been managing high school baseball players for about 6 years now.
So you manage the 13 to 17-year-olds?
Correct.
And what's the name of your team?
The Bruins.
This particular game that's at issue today took place on what date, sir?
October the 16th of last year.
Now, Mr. Borges, on October 16th of 2022, what I'm gathering from the papers is that one or so of your players was over the age of 17.
Correct.
That you knew was against the rules. How many players were over 17?
So there was a total of 2 players that were over.
2.
So they weren't over 17. They were 17 at the time.
They were beyond the age where they were supposed to be playing. So you knew that that was against the rules.
Correct.
Just curious, clear that you knew it. You're giving me honest answers. Why'd you do that?
Because there's a stipulation that it goes on the way that the sanctioning body goes by. If they're in the grade level that is of the current year, they can still play. There is a limit of 1 player. I had 2. That is why we were.
Okay. So what you're saying is you didn't know about the second rule?
I knew about the second rule. I misinterpreted it. I thought we were allowed up to 3 players. Turns out that for this particular sanctioning body, there was only 1 allowed.
At some point during that game, something happened, because this case involves an assault. It is your claim, Mr. Green, that the defendant assaulted you and injured you.
Yeah.
And it was about the players who were playing against the rules from his team.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's start with you, sir. You're on the field, you're doing your business. Somebody advises you that there's an issue. Who tells you that there's an issue?
So I went up to the director and asked him myself. There was some chatter in the stands saying, hey, you have 2 players.
There were some chatter where?
From the stands. So some of my
from
parents,
the stands?
Yeah, from the stands. So some of my parents asked me, hey, you might want to check that because the other team is saying that we're illegal players.
So there was already a kerfuffle because people who were watching the game, I assume that there were regulars watching this game. First of all, you have all the mothers, fathers, grandparents, siblings of all these players watching the game.
Correct.
And they just don't come out for one game. I know this from grandson Kobe. They come out for every game. And so I assume that everybody knows how old these players are because they've been following them. They all go to the same school. Okay. So there was chatter from the team that was opposing your Bruins that, hey, 2 of these players shouldn't be playing.
Correct.
They're too old. It's not fair. Had the game gotten underway yet?
It was in the bottom of the first, or the start of the first inning.
Okay, so you heard the kerfuffle that was starting in the stands. You figured the better part of valor was to go over and address the issue yourself with the director of the league?
Of the tournament director, correct.
Okay. How did you identify him there?
He's the one we check into at the beginning when we show up as a team. There's a booth where we check in.
So you went down to speak to the director. Did you hear any of this chatter?
Your Honor, the story that he's telling you is absolutely not true. How we found out, or they found out that the player was too old. The player actually played for the opposing team before, and the coach knew him. And I was standing there when the coach passed by him and spoke to him, and then the coach informed one of his parents that that kid that was the catcher was too old to be on the team, and they went and told the tournament director. He didn't go to the tournament director. He was on the field.
Okay, just a second. So your story, which actually is interesting and has more subtlety to it, so sounds more real. This older player used to play for the opposing team.
Yes, ma'am.
So the team members and that coach knew how old he was.
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
They went over to the director to complain.
Went over to the director and told the director that he was using illegal players, that the players was too old. Then they checked the record to find out if it was true. They never went to the director. The director came on the field and stopped the game. He came to me and said, stop the game.
Okay, so the director came up to you.
Yes, ma'am.
And said, stop the game.
Stop the game.
And you're standing at home plate?
Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
See that?
You got that. You're right. I was standing at home.
Why do you look so amazed?
Because I was surprised that you would know about
that I would know about home plate?
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's home plate. I was standing at home plate.
They're not talking football here. Baseball, I know.
Okay.
See?
Yeah, okay.
So everybody sort of was around you. You had the director, you had yourself. Were any of the players there?
Yes, ma'am. They were still on the field. Everybody was still on the field.
Any players up at home plate?
Yeah, the player, the catcher, the one that was too old, and the batter. So he waited until the game started, because if he said anything before the game started, then they would just take the players out. So he was waiting for the players to play. So
they would have to forfeit the game. That they would have to forfeit the game.
There you go.
Got it. So now I'm getting the rules, because these rules I didn't know. So if the game hadn't started yet, and that one player was taken out before anything happened, then you would just take the player out and continue the game.
And continue.
But once the game starts with his illegal player, then their team had to forfeit the game.
Exactly. The other team.
So the other team, strategically, I assume, but the other team waited until the first ball was thrown or whatever, and then came out to complain or went to the director to complain that there was an illegal player.
Exactly.
And therefore the game had to be forfeited.
Exactly. So they lost the game.
Now it's got. So they lost the game before it started.
Right. They lost the game before it ended. So it was on a Sunday, and Sunday we call it elimination day. So if you lose on Sunday, you go home, and the other team that won go on to the next game. So obviously he didn't go to the next game because he was eliminated, but the other team did. So that's why the other team waited so they can go to the next game.
Now, Mr. Borges, I have to tell you, that sounds more reasonable to me.
And he's absolutely right.
Okay, good.
Other than the fact that I did go up to the tournament director myself, because at that point in time, they approved my roster, and I had an approved roster. So when I called the higher up of the tournament director, he said, if you guys leave the field, if you forfeit the game, I will refund you the tournament fee. If you do not, and it gets out of hand, then you will not get a refund. So I talked to my parents, I talked to my players, I explained to them the situation, and that was it. And we walked off the field.
Well, that didn't happen just that way.
That's exactly how it happened.
Well, then how did he get assaulted?
He just had this look in his eye and just...
Green claims youth baseball coach Francisco Borges owes for lost wages and damages after Francisco assaulted him.
Now, his version of the events sounds much more plausible to me now that I know that you crafted your participation initially in a certain way, but that sounds right. Now I understand it. Okay, so now they're all out on the field.
So no, what happened next is that they actually left the field. He didn't say anything about the game, so they left.
So they left the field and his team left.
And all of his players left the field. So what I did is I returned to what we call it the director's table, but it's like an easy-up setup. So I returned to the director's table where all the umpires usually hang out, because we do like 5 games a day. So in between games, we kind of go there and get our new scorecard, our new baseball, and everything that we need for our next game. So I was standing there just kind of talking with other umpires. My son Cam was there. He's an umpire also. And on his way out of the particular facility that we were in, the director's table is right there. Him and some of his parents, that's when they stopped by the director's table to ask the director about why they were disqualified, because they were saying that they knew that they were using illegal players. The director was saying, no, we didn't, because you never checked in with your roster. And so they started demanding a refund. And so we wasn't even involved in it. So they started demanding a refund. And so one of the moms.
How much money are we talking about? Just
I have no idea. You have to ask them.
How much money is the refund?
It's $8 per person. That's the refund that my parents were requesting. We weren't requesting a tournament fee because we had already squared that away with the tournament director.
You expected an $8 per person refund. Why? Because
the game didn't conclude, and we were the ones that stopped the game prior to this whole scenario.
Well, not actually. You didn't stop the game. Whatever. Aside from the $8 per person, what other fee is there?
There's a tournament fee.
Well, give me the amount.
It was $895.
Go ahead, sir.
He was asking for his money back. He didn't get a refund back because he was disqualified for the tournament. He got upset and said, well, I'll show you disqualified. I'll show you disqualified. And then he was coming around. The director, it's like table setup, 6-foot tables, and he was coming around the table in an angry manner. So all I did was step back and said, Coach, calm down. Your children are out here. Why you act like this in front of your children? He didn't say a word. He just had this look in his eye, and he just grabbed me like this, and his fist was coming at me. And that's pretty much all I remember, because I could remember another fist coming over my shoulder, which I later found out that it was my son coming to my defense, because he just grabbed me. I mean, that's all I could say. He just pretty much grabbed me like this. And
could you stand up? Tell me your name, please.
Cameron Green.
Cameron, you were down with your father near the director's table.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what you saw. Your father took me up to a point, and I want you to start at the point where there was any contact between your father and the defendant.
Yes, as the defendant was charging after the tournament director, after verbally threatening him.
Was that person seated?
He was seated.
Yes, go ahead.
And as he got around a barricade of tables, me and my dad were there to stop him and calm him down.
Tell me exactly how you...
Literally just standing here. Obviously, you don't want to make contact with the person unneeded. So, like, literally just standing there, he had his hands up and said, hey, your kids are out here. And he just got, like, the midst of the deflection, because he was going to probably assault the tournament director, and said he assaulted my dad instead.
Well, tell me how he did that.
So after my dad told him to calm down because the kids were out there, he then grabbed my dad by his chest protector and lifted him up. And once he had did that, then I had to defend my dad.
Well, how did you do that?
By punching him.
How did your father end up unconscious?
So once again, he had him, and so he would grab my dad by his chest protector and shoves his fist in his face to basically threaten him. So I assume after I hit him, he probably just threw him down.
So he threw your father down?
Correct.
Were you hospitalized, sir? Were you...
I went to the doctor the next day. We went home after it all happened, and then the next day I woke up, I had all these like really bad pains in my face and stuff. So I went to the doctor, and the next day I went to urgent care on the 17th.
Do you have any pictures of
any injuries? Yes, I have the pictures and also the doctor's report.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
There's pictures of my injuries in the original doctor report when I first went to the doctor.
Pretty bad black eye area, is that what you're showing? Did you file a police report, sir?
The facility, the director, they filed a police report.
Do you have a copy of that?
On the 18th.
Do you have a copy of that? Were you able to get a copy of the police report?
No, they gave it back to me.
Nothing. Okay. Was there a complaint filed by you with the police department, sir?
Yes, there was a complaint filed by me with the Riverside County Sheriff.
Were you ever contacted by the police?
I was.
Were you arrested?
No.
Did Mr. Green cause to be served on you an application for a protective order?
Correct.
And was there a hearing on that?
Yes, there was.
Did you testify?
Yes.
Did you have any witnesses?
No, I just had witness statements and the picture that I showed you.
Did you have any witnesses?
No.
What was the result of that hearing?
I was granted a restraining order for a year.
And was the story that you told to the court at that hearing consistent with what you've told me today?
Yes, it is, Your Honor. I actually have the transcript from that court case.
I'd like to take a look at it. I'm going to ask you the same question, Mr. Borges. Was the testimony you gave me today consistent with what you told the court on that day?
Absolutely.
You did, in fact, put your hands on the plaintiff.
Correct.
I'm actually going to go in a little bit further. How many parents were with you at the time you came to the director's chair?
There was a few. There was about 5 or 6 there. They were standing next to me.
Did you see the parents of Mr. Borges' team with him?
Yes.
How many were there?
At least 5 or 6 parents, and they all had their kids with them as well.
Now, When Mr. Borges, when you said came around the table and put his hands on your father, where were the parents?
They're behind him, and due to the progressive heating of the argument, everybody on his side was being very aggressive. That's why when he charged after the tournament director, no one cared to stop him. And after I had defended my dad, I was then jumped by about 5 of the parents.
Okay, so he was the first one who went around the table.
Correct.
The parents and the other players followed after him?
They were aggressive, but they stayed put, and after I had defended him, then that's when they got involved.
Now, when you say you defended your father, what did you do?
As he had my dad grabbed by his chest protector, I then punched him.
Punched the defendant?
The defendant, yes.
And after you punched the defendant, what happened?
I was then jumped by about 5 of the parents. So I saw 3 running at me and 1 running at me full speed. So I engaged with the first guy that was coming at me. And right there, I got tangled up, and then I was thrown to the floor immediately, and then jumped by about 5 parents.
Who broke it up?
Actually, a bystanding coach ran in about like 6 seconds into the jumping and picked me up off the ground and separated me from the crowd. I almost had it, though.
Then I got it. When I got up off the ground, I pulled one of the parents off of him. Because when I got up off the ground, I was...
Off of your son?
Off of my son. I was looking for my hearing aids and glasses, and then when I picked him up, I noticed 3 guys fighting my son. So I pulled the parent off of him, and then somebody else came around and punched me again. I couldn't see who that person was.
I got it. You got punched.
Kelvin Green has accused youth baseball coach Francisco Borges of assaulting him at a baseball tournament. Francisco claims Kelvin's son punched him in the face.
So, Mr. Borges, I'm going to go one further from the judge who heard the application for an order of protection. It was a very limited hearing, and what the judge based his opinion on to give the plaintiff a protective order for a year, which merely says that you may not assault, menace, threaten, or harass him. Is he allowed to be at a game where you're umpiring? No, he's not allowed to have his team at a game where you're umpiring.
No, he's not allowed to be around. He's not allowed to be within 100 feet of me. We didn't put down the team because it was more about him and not the team.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, sir, that if your conduct precipitated a course of events where other people were injured, your conduct, you're responsible. I'm going to let you tell me your version of the events. You're out there. Now I heard their version of the events of that day. You're out there with 5 or 6 parents, and you're demanding that while you forfeited the game fee, which was over $800, it was your position that your players were entitled to their $8 a person back, which is why you went with the parents over to the director to ask for the $8 per person back for your players. That's what you told me.
No, that you asked me what the sum was. It was $8 a person of what it cost to get in. That's not what we were arguing about. So,
well, what were you arguing
about? My side of the story about? So as we were walking out, I was talking to the female tournament director. We had already got our situation squared away. There was a male tournament director who was sitting at his chair, and one of my parents approached him, and they were arguing back and forth. He made a comment, and he said, "You guys shouldn't even get a refund back for your tournament fee because you guys were cheating." That's when I got upset because I had already squared away with his boss and the female tournament director that was on site. Okay.
So what did you do when you got upset?
I told him, do you even know what's going on? I've already explained that this whole situation has nothing to do with the team. She's asking for her $8 back because they just got here and they're not watching the game.
Oh, you mean their fee to get into the stadium?
Correct.
What were you involved with that for?
Exactly.
What were you involved with that for? They wanted their money back. How many games were going to be played that day?
It could have been, 3, 4, 5 games. But
well, they could have sat and watched the rest of the 5 games.
Yeah, they could have. At that point in time, the argument started with the tournament director. Mr. Green was coming over from the field, and he did see when we were arguing. He did get in front of me. He said, "Hey, man, relax. Your kid's around." My whole thing was the director was still talking back to me,
So what if he was talking back to you? The truth is he was saying the truth. That director was saying nothing that was untruthful. All this started because you put 2 illegal players on your team.
That they approved, Your Honor.
What?
They approved. The sanctioning body approved my roster before I showed up.
I have to tell you something, sir. You've been doing this according to you for a long time, and you know all the rules. And you had 2 illegal players on your team. That's what happened. But you had no business going over there and getting them a refund for
I wasn't
entrance
asking
to the
for a refund.
park.
That's where you're wrong. I was not asking for a refund. The parents were.
So what were you involved for?
Because the director told them they had to come talk to me about it, okay? And I go, listen, it's your job to de-escalate. As a director, it's your responsibility to de-escalate the situation.
So what? I don't understand why you put your hands on him.
I grabbed him by the chest protector to move him out of the way, because my argument was with the tournament director.
What's
did
the
not
thing?
involve Mr. Green at
You
all.
can't put your hands on him.
So at that point in time, that's when I got punched, and then I was pulled back by the parents.
Just a second. You got punched because you put your hands on his father aggressively, and you're a big guy, and you were aggressive. How old are you, sir?
62.
How old are you?
38.
He's old enough to be your father. How dare you put your hands on him? Okay. Anything else you want to tell me, sir?
I just want to say one other thing, Your Honor, that this is mainly about him and other parents that come out to youth sports and behave badly. I want to send a message to him and all the other parents out there. When you come to support your kids. We're human, we make mistakes. We're out there for the same reason they are. It's not about the money. We're out there because we love the game and we love the kid. Violence, there's no place in baseball for violence, and he has to know that, and all the other parents have to know that. When you come, you're supposed to be there to support your kid, not harass the umpires or get into it with the directors. If you know you cheated, take your lumps and go home. But to assault
Couldn't have said it better
official,
myself.
It's like, yeah, and that's why that's the message.
And I won't say it better myself. He's right. Right?
Yep.
Did you lose any work, sir, as a result
I
of
missed a month of work and I missed a month of umpiring.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested in your petition, $10,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was a little unfair.
I think the judge made the right decision.
I never punched anybody, which that's the reason we were here.
The judge saw it right through the lie that he was trying to tell her.
Sanctioning body approved my roster. So that was on them.
From my understanding, he bypassed the director's table on Saturday. He didn't turn in his roster, so they didn't even know he had those players on his team.
I have no ill will against Mr. Green. Like I said, at the end of the day, I never punched him. I did touch his chest protector, but I never threw a punch.
Get the message out to the other parents that when you come to youth sporting events, you are not going to behave badly, and if you do, we're going to prosecute you to the limit of the law.
Plaintiff took the words right out of my mouth. The grand message that we usually have for people after the cases, and I almost liked it better coming from him, seeing firsthand how crazy some of these youth sports games have gotten. I usually see them secondhand on Twitter or clips on social media of outraged parents or siblings even of players absolutely losing their mind at these youth sports games. So he said it perfect, and all the parents should really listen up. It takes a certain type to really get so angry
that you get physical.
At someone like an umpire who's getting paid $60 a game. They're obviously not in it for the money. He has some heartfelt reason for wanting to be engaged.
Yeah, he had
in
a
his
son.
children's lives.
Son probably played.
Exactly, and they're not trying to make bad calls. They're trying to do the best they can, but everyone's got to keep their cool. It's baseball.
It's supposed to be a fun sport.
America's pastime.
Yeah.
Dominique Rogers is suing her neighbor, Tamela Thomas, for taking her French bulldog puppy without permission.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3008, Rogers versus Thomas.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Rogers, the first couple of lines of your complaint indicate that you're a dog breeder.
Yes.
What kind of dogs do you breed?
Frenchies.
How long have you been doing that?
Actually, just now starting. It's my first time.
So that's not your business. What do you do?
For a living, I am a customer service representative.
From whom did you purchase these two dogs that you had? One Ghost that was 1.5 years old. I assume that that's a male.
Yes. He was purchased from a breeder in Pontiac, Michigan.
When he was a puppy?
Yes.
And the second dog that you got was a female, and you intended, I assume, to breed those two dogs.
Yes.
And that was a 13-week-old French bulldog.
Correct.
That you got from where?
From a local breeder who's been breeding Frenchies for 30 years in my city, Muskegon, Michigan.
This is what your complaint, I'm reading it. I'm sort of wide-eyed reading it. You got two dogs, the puppy you got in February. You let the dogs out to use a potty break. The property that you let them out on is not fenced. The puppy was 13 weeks old. You let a 13-week-old puppy out with a dog that was probably used to going in and out. You let that 13-week-old puppy out alone, and you claim that the defendant stole the puppy. That's your claim.
Yes.
So my first question to you is, why in the world would you let a 13-week-old puppy out in an unfenced area? Why? What were you thinking?
I was just letting her out to use the bathroom. This is something that I normally do.
No, you don't. You just got this puppy. She was 13 weeks old.
Well, I've had the 13-month-old dog for over a year.
Well, that I understand. I mean, that's also foolish, but I understand if you've had the dog for over a year and you've trained the dog to come home, that it knows where to come, but not the puppy. What were you thinking about? That the older dog would discuss with the younger dog not to run off, but to use potty and then run back into the house? I don't understand what you were thinking. I mean, I've had dogs all my life. 13-week-old puppies, they don't know where they're going. Anyway, you let the dog out on what date?
February the 27th.
What time?
Around 2 o'clock.
And what time did you realize that the little girl was missing?
Not even 15 minutes later.
So what did you do?
I quickly put on my shoes and I started walking down the street calling the dog's name.
And?
I didn't see him.
And?
I see a neighbor who's behind an abandoned house that's on the corner, and I asked him, had he seen my puppy?
You cannot tell me what anybody said to you.
Okay, so I'm just asking around. They started telling me.
You can't tell me what anybody told you, madam. Okay. Is this a witness who saw something, or is this just somebody here to keep you company while you're here?
She's a witness.
Tell me your name.
Lana Carson.
Ms. Carson, do you live on the same block?
I do not.
What are you a witness to?
I'm an animal control officer for our county. That afternoon on the 27th, I was scheduled for various welfare checks for animals. One of the calls that I had to go by the area. So as I was coming down the road, on the left-hand side, there was a house that must have had a recent fire or something. And there were several people that were standing out in the house. So it caught my attention. Right where that house was on the corner, we had to make a left-hand turn to get to the address that we were going to.
Not her address?
Not her address. My call was unrelated. As I came around the corner, there were two French bulldogs that were in this front yard. One was like a tan and white. It was an older, bigger dog. And then the other one was a small tan puppy. Two dogs were running loose, so it, of course, caught my attention. I am the dog catcher. So as the dogs were in this yard, I just kind of kept an eye on.
Because there were no fences there.
In this particular yard, there was a fence, but there was an opening. And there was a lady that was in the yard, and she bent down and picked up the small tan puppy and was holding the puppy, but the other dog, the bigger dog, got through a hole that was in the fence. It was an open gate. So I immediately rolled down the window and said, "Do you need help with this? Do you want me to grab the dog?" And the gal who was holding the tan puppy said, "No, he's got it." And I said, "Okay." Now, at this time, I'm in an unmarked vehicle because we were on welfare checks.
When she said, "No, he's got it," did you see any male there?
There was a male that was standing in the driveway of this house. So I did see somebody. And so when she said, "No, he's got it," I was assuming it was the gentleman because I did see somebody in that driveway. She was still holding the tan puppy. The adult dog then ran another house down. I'm like, okay, I didn't see anybody coming around the corner. She was standing there holding that tan puppy. I asked again, "Are you sure you don't want me to grab this dog?" And she once again said, "No, he's got it." Then I started getting a little, frustrated because this dog is still making its way down the block.
Down the block, untethered?
Untethered.
And unaccompanied.
Correct. So another house down, the dog kind of jettied back behind a yellow house. And one last time, because I made a comment to my coworker who was riding with me that day, I said, well, chances are we're going to be getting a call for a lost Frenchie that day. So at that time, when I saw the dog go behind this house, again, I hollered back. I said, "That dog is down here," and then that was it. So we went on to our call. She was still standing there with the tan puppy.
Is that person in court today?
Yes.
She saw. Dominique Rogers claims her neighbor, Camilla Thomas, stole her French bulldog puppy and gave it away.
Is that person in court today?
Yes.
That's the defendant?
Yes.
When you got the call that a dog was missing, that was a Frenchie from that area, did you make contact with the plaintiff?
So the same day, Dominique did call in a missing dog. The next day, however, because we did, crazy enough, get a Frenchie in. So our office called Dominique and said, please come down to the shelter. That's our protocol. So we asked people to come down to the shelter. That day I was working actually in office, not out in the field. And so Dominique, when she came into the shelter and said, hey, I got a call, part of our protocol is we ask that the owner gives us a picture of the dog. And so she showed me a picture of the dog.
And it wasn't the dog that
it wasn't the dog that was
in the
there.
shelter, but you recognized the dog.
Very much. I said, oh my gosh, this is the dog that I saw yesterday.
How far does the plaintiff live from where you saw the defendant holding the puppy?
About 3 doors down.
Okay, all is now in your court. Let's go. Do you remember her?
What?
Do you remember her?
I remember a lady saying something one time in a white van. If she was the lady in the white van, that's someone did talk to me.
The lady in the white van says that she asked you 3 times. Did I get that?
True.
3 times. Do you need help here? Tell me what you were doing with her dog.
If she seen me, she seen a guy at the
Don't tell me what she saw. She saw you picking up from a front yard. I assume it's yours.
No, not my front yard. It's the house across the street.
So you saw the 2 Frenchies, the big one and the little one, in a yard across the street from you?
Yeah, I seen the...
Yes. And you crossed the street?
Yes.
You crossed the street and picked up the puppy?
They were trying to catch it.
Who was trying to catch it?
2 guys I seen out there. They were trying to catch it. They wasn't by each other at first. It was a small one by the opening, and it was a bigger one. I didn't see that one till later. Like, I seen the small one first. They were trying to catch it. So they like, the dog, like trying to get the dog. So I went across the street. I grabbed the little one. It was like almost by the fence. Okay, so I grabbed the dog. As soon as I picked up the dog, I lifted it up. She said, like, asked the question 1 time, that's it. And she kept going. I never seen her no more. I never held it. She never came back again because it was that fast. I went right back across the street. I handed the dog off and left.
To who?
It was a guy. It was 2 cars parked on the side. It was a silver car, and I'm not sure what other vehicles right there, but they were both outside the car. And I handed the dog off because they were already out there when I came outside.
You see any 2 men?
I saw a lady with long black hair, long gray coat. There was a gentleman with a black coat and a black hat, and then there was another woman there.
Another woman? When did you first find out, Miss Thomas, that this dog belonged to the plaintiff?
The next day.
Tell me how you found out.
The police officer came and asked me, have I seen these dogs? He was going around house to house. And I said, yes, I seen them yesterday. And I told them I handed it off to a male.
And you didn't say anything to him, didn't have an exchange of conversation?
He said thank you. I was really trying to get my groceries out the car at the time. And I had a little baby. I went back. My mom was in the house at the time with the baby. That was baby. I didn't never have no conversation.
This is your mother?
Yes.
Step up, please. Tell me your last name.
Phillips.
You remember the day that your daughter is talking about, which is February 27th?
Yes.
How do you remember it?
She came back in the house. I asked her, did she need any more help getting the groceries out? Because I was in there watching the baby. And she said, no, she got everything. And then...
So she said, no, I have everything.
Yeah, she told me she got all the stuff out the car, and then she wanted to say, she said, these people was out there, I had helped the people get their dog. I thought she was being a good Samaritan. I didn't know this was gonna take effect like this. I thought she was just being a good Samaritan, and that was it.
Do you have any dogs?
No.
Does your daughter have any dogs?
No.
Did the 2 of you live together?
No.
When had you arrived at her house that day?
I know it was in the daytime. It was kind of early when I got over there. I usually go to work, come home.
Not usually. I want you to tell me what time you got there. You remember everything about that day.
It had been probably about 12.
You got there at 12?
About 12.
And what time did she leave for the grocery?
Probably about an hour and a half of me being there, about an hour and a half.
So she left about 1:30?
Probably about 1, because she was back. She didn't get a lot of stuff. Probably about 1.
And what time did she return?
She wasn't gone real long, about 45 minutes probably.
So she was back by 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
And what time did you see the defendant with the puppy?
Probably shortly before 2 o'clock.
Miss Carson, you've heard Miss Thomas say that when she came home from grocery shopping, she saw these 2 dogs across the street. One of them was a small puppy. She went over and picked up the small puppy. She believed that these 2 men, she said 2 men, you said you saw a man and a woman, and the dog belonged to them. She turned the puppy over to them. You're an animal control officer, is anything that you saw on that date inconsistent with what the defendant just told me?
I do know that there was a female there. There was a male. She was already over on the side of the house where the dogs were, and she was picking them up.
Who was picking them up?
I'm sorry, the defendant had picked up the dog.
The puppy.
Yeah, I did not see anybody else trying to get these dogs. She was the only one that was in pursuit of these two dogs, and just picked up the one, and then it was just kind of like, oh no, he's got it. You know, that's why I was kind of, this dog is getting away. There wasn't a lot of, you know, intent on getting that other one. That's why I was following it. So I did not see anybody else that was trying to help get those dogs.
When did the people approach you and say, this is my dog? She didn't see anybody.
They were already out there, and they were trying to get the dogs already. And that's when I came across the street, and then the little one started going that way, and I grabbed it. And I went right back to that corner and handed the dog off. She seen me hand the dog off. When the police asked me, I told them, I said, a white van rolled past and everything. I said, they were there. She was like, did I see Pound Buddies? I said, no. Because she said she was in an unmarked car. I'm thinking maybe that was them, but I'm like, I seen a lady in a white van. That's it. And she seen me hand the dog off, and I went back across the street with the long coat. I walked right. I didn't have no dog in my hand, not even 5 seconds. I picked the dog up and straight handed it off. So how would you dare and ask me 3 times that I need help? You didn't ask me no 3 times, nothing about no help.
When I came out,
Dominique Rogers has accused her neighbor, Tamela Thomas, of stealing her French bulldog puppy. Tamela claims she gave the dog to a man she thought was the owner.
Okay, Miss Rogers, you know how all this could have been avoided?
if I wouldn't have ever let my dogs out unattended.
Right, which you're not supposed to do anyway. Not the big one, and certainly not the little one. And I'm not prepared to label Miss Thomas a thief based upon what I heard. I'm just not prepared to do that. I think that there could be a scenario where that happened. But even based upon your witness's testimony, I'm not prepared to do that, to label her a thief. So what other evidence do you have to show me that she was a conspirator in waiting for you to let your dogs outside and stealing the puppy?
I'm not saying that she was a conspirator to waiting. I certainly left the opportunity open. I have a big sorry yard. I'm a renter. Me and my landlord have went back and forth many a times.
Has nothing to do with your landlord. It has only to do with you. It has only to do with you. That's what leashes are for.
I understand. And so with that being said, I have a police report.
I'd like to see it.
She says, okay.
On the 28th of February, Dominic stated that a French bulldog was stolen from the side yard of her residence. She was told that a taller black male came into the yard and took her dog. She stated that the male subject was wearing a red coat with a white hat. Who told you that?
That's what I was trying to tell you when the neighbor, and you told me don't mention that. This is the one, the top page is the one that I'm showing you where she admits.
Where she what? Admitted that she handed the dog off to somebody in a car that she thought was the owner. That's what she's saying. I thought that this was the owner.
She said in the car, but then she just said a few seconds ago that they were standing next to each other, and she gave us not in the car.
He had been in a silver car.
Yeah.
He had been in a silver car.
Can I also say this, ma'am?
Yeah.
When I came outside with my other dog, Tamela crossed my path, seeing me out there looking ugly and stupid, calling my dog and crying. She walked right past me.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. In that gray coat and that long black hair. She's she's so pretty. I didn't think she cared about my dogs. So I didn't say anything, and I'm screaming and yelling. Why, as a good Samaritan, she didn't say, hey, it was that same day. She didn't say, hey, what are you looking for? She walked literally past me with my white dog standing next to me, and I had him on a leash at that time because we were both out looking for a Penelope. She saw me walking and calling my dog. And that's how I knew who she was talking about when I called the Pound Buddy, because she described
a neighbor told you. A neighbor told you.
Neighbor and I'm sorry.
A neighbor, I'm just telling you, a neighbor told you that a male took the dog from your yard.
The police did not write the report up right, because just as my witness stated that The police stated in the first thing that he saw Mela give the witness give the dog to a guy. My witness says she's never seen her give the dog to anybody.
Okay. I am not prepared to say that the defendant stole your dog.
Okay.
I'm prepared to say that you were a very bad caretaker of a 13-week-old puppy.
Okay.
And that you have to bear that burden. There is a slim possibility that the defendant may have been involved in stealing your puppy. I somehow doubt it. The only thing that I know for certain is that you let a 13-week-old puppy out unattended. Forget about the year-and-a-half-old puppy. I would never let my 2-year-old puppy out alone and unattended in an unfenced yard. So those are the consequences that you accept. Even if you have a fenced yard with a 13-week-old puppy, I don't know whether I would let a 13-week-old puppy out. They dig holes. And you also have to be afraid of somebody stealing them, because what you said is somebody stole your puppy, right?
I lost my dog, and I was honest about that when I made my police report. And this is why I did leave him out attended, because I work from home, and I only had a 15-minute break. I went to the bathroom and came back out. By the time I got back to my computer desk to get back on after my 15 break, it had only been 20 minutes after, so I was only 5 minutes late after I had already did all the searching and everything. That's why I don't know how come I didn't see.
I don't know either. All you know for sure is that you let a 13-week-old puppy out alone. Okay. It's like letting a 6-month-old baby who's just learning to crawl. Go out, let's keep our fingers crossed that you come back. It's not about you, it's about the dog. And I would think twice about breeding dogs, because if you're very busy with your other business, this is not a hobby. Breeding dogs is a skilled art form that people should be educated about. And this is about the 3rd case that I've had involving this adorable breed of dog, French bulldogs, that everybody thinks now is sort of a sport to raise. It's not a sport.
And that's what I know.
Good. Your case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I don't think that I did any wrong by letting my dogs go out to use the bathroom.
I don't steal dogs.
Honestly, these are like my children.
I'm happy with the decision she made.
I made flyers and everything. She saw me calling my dog.
The dogs are running loose.
I actually love animals. I love my dogs.
Why would I steal your dogs?
And I certainly just wouldn't leave her unattended like that for no reason and stuff like that.
Hope she finds her dog.
She just admitted in there that she picked up the dog.
That was true. It was in my hands, but I handed it off to the guy who was out there who claimed that that was his dog.
Just want my dog back. It wasn't even about the money.
I seen posters and everything.
I'm not just a breeder. I care about my dogs.
I don't have it, so.
In this court and in most civil cases, the burden of proof is more evidence than not. And I really believe that before you label someone as a thief, you have to be pretty secure, pretty confident that their story is not possible.
Yeah.
Because there was some evidence that she had possession of the dog for a period of time, but then she gave a perfectly plausible, to me, explanation.
When you asked for that additional proof, I thought we were going to see a social media post after the fact with the defendant with the dog, you know, something that indicated that she had possession of the dog post this point of the time in which it went missing.
You just don't let your dogs run loose.
Yeah.
I mean, they could get hit by a car.
Nothing good happens from letting them run loose.
Nothing good happens, nothing positive.
Gabrielle and Angela Alfredson are suing their stable landlord, Glenn Garatiano, for rental fees after being forced to move their horses from his property.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please. Hello, Kevin.
Good morning, Judge. Case number 3028, Alfredson versus Garatiano.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to speak to you. What's your first name?
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle, this is your mom, and you had horses.
We do, both of us.
How old are you?
21.
In what month and year did you start to board your horses with the defendant?
February 2023.
And where had they been prior to that?
Charlotte, North Carolina, where I lived before moving to Charleston.
And your mother?
And she still lives in Charlotte. She has plans to move to Charleston.
How many horses did you have?
I have one and my mom has one.
But you took both of them with you?
Yes.
Tell me why.
They've been together for over 6 years. This is something we do together, me and my mom, and since she had plans to move, we didn't want to stress them and separate them, so we wanted to keep them together.
Okay. When you moved with the horses, you were the person who found the property?
Correct.
And did you meet with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
Did you ultimately sign a lease with him?
Ultimately, yes.
When? Month and year?
It was beginning of February 2023, I believe. I have the lease.
I'd like to take a look at the lease.
It is on my phone through emails.
I want to look at the lease.
I have it, ma'am.
Oh.
Would you like
see
a
it.
copy?
Yes.
These are copies of all the documents I'll be speaking about today.
I don't want to see all the documents. I want to see the lease.
Coming up, Exhibit B.
Thank you. Okay, your lawsuit today seeks recoupment of certain monies that you paid pursuant to this lease. The defendant has a cross-complaint for damages that your horses did to his property, which is also included in the lease as your responsibility. So the lease started February the 12th. When did you move your horses there?
The night of the 11th.
And where did you put them?
In the pastures on Glenn's property.
Was he there?
He was. He came out and told us we can,
So you were there with your mother?
Yes. It was me, my mother, and my father.
And there were no incidents. Did he explain to you what had to be done? You have to water them from a certain trough. Did he explain all that to you?
Yep. He said he has no knowledge of how to maintain and care for horses. That was all on us. As long as we pay our rent and take care of everything, that will be that.
Okay. So that's February. How much money did you pay him in February?
$925.
For the two horses?
Correct.
Were the horses there in March?
I think it was when we moved him beginning of March, or middle of March.
Do you remember the date?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the date?
The 13th is when they actually came with the two deputies to take their possessions.
So they were there for a month?
5 weeks. She was supposed to come in mid-January, but postponed.
Just a second. The lease says it starts February the 12th.
Correct.
That's what the lease says. They left March 13th.
Correct.
Okay. And you paid the defendant how much?
3 payments of $925.
Okay. February, we have $925.
Correct.
And you are several days over into the second month. Did you pay the second month?
We did initially.
You made 3 payments. I'd like you to explain to me the third payment.
We had to pay the first month of board, which was the $925, then the $925 for a deposit.
Okay, so a $925 was a security deposit.
Correct. And then an initial $925 for the first month of February.
Okay, so $925 was a security. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Okay.
It was not paid at the proper time. Neither was the first lease payment.
$925 was security deposit.
Yes.
2 months board.
Correct.
Now, it didn't work out.
Oh, it's way more than didn't work out.
I just said, I don't care. Actually, the idea is to keep it simple. It didn't work out. You were happy to see them go?
I initiated termination in the lease pursuant to the
and
lease.
they were happy to go?
Apparently, yes.
So now it's a matter of money. That's all it's about. I mean, you're not married to each other. You don't share grandchildren together. So it's a matter of why they don't get their security deposit back. Do you understand? You stayed over the second month, so you had to pay the second month, but $925 is security deposit. And there's no reason, unless there was some sort of violation of the lease, why you're not entitled to the $925 back, which is your security.
There was also criminal animal abuse during the 5 weeks that they were there.
Just to say, what does that have to do with this lawsuit?
It has to do with why their lease was terminated.
I don't care.
Okay, that's fine.
They want their money back. They don't want the pasture back. And I understand from your papers you believe that they weren't adequately caring for the animals, and because they weren't caring for the animals ate up your pasture. I don't know. You're going to show me what you're alleging in order to avoid returning their $925 security deposit.
That's part of it.
Ball's in your court.
Okay.
Security deposit, $925 security deposit, to which they would otherwise be entitled to unless you have proof to me that their horses damage your property.
So you want to go directly to the damages?
I want to go directly to the damages.
Okay,
I heard. This is my life. It's fleeting by so fast.
Someone please give this to the judge.
I just want you to show me what the damages
are. Okay. I guess I'm not going to refer to my notes. I'll just do it on the fly. Okay. The very first
Shh.
Oh, don't explain?
No,
I'm sorry.
I don't want you to explain anything. They're pictures. Oh, there's something in the packet that you just gave me. Would you please show this to Gabrielle and ask her if that's her signature?
Your Honor, may I speak?
Shh. No.
That means no.
That's a no.
Okay.
Is that your signature is my question.
Yes.
Okay. When did you sign that?
The day we left.
The day you left?
Correct.
Okay, and this shall serve as your receipt for the month's rent of $925 and the deposit $925. It will also serve as a receipt for your final month's payment of March 2023. We have agreed that the deposit is forfeited to cover some of the damage done by the horses, right? And you sign that?
Correct.
Well, then you have no case. What do you want?
I want to tell you my side, please.
You want to tell me about what?
This whole incident.
I don't care about the whole incident.
Your Honor.
Okay.
Just a second. You don't understand. This is a contract. She signed a lease as a contract. She's 21 years old. In order to leave, you left. You were both happy to be done with each other. Your daughter, who is the lessee, signed this agreeing for the 2 months' rent and to forfeit the $925 deposit. And there's an acknowledgement that the horses did damage to the property. That's it. So you have no case.
Does it say acknowledgement?
What?
Does it say that, acknowledgement, or if there was damage to the property?
No, it says we have agreed that the deposit is forfeit to cover some of the damage done by the horses. Now, you're really being so annoying to me. I'm just about.
I'm
just a second.
Preparing my next piece of paper. That's all.
Just a second. Don't prepare anything. So far, you're not losing. The only thing you're losing is my patience. You said I have 43.
And Angela Alfredson claimed their stable landlord, Glenn Garatiano, is wrongfully keeping their rental fees and deposit. Glenn is countersuing for property damage caused by their horses.
Okay. We have agreed that the deposit is forfeit to cover some of the damage done by the horses. Now, if I were you, one word I would have absolutely eliminated is some of the damage, because that says to you, bing! It's not to liquidate the damages done by the horses. It says to cover some of the damage done by the horses, which is his counterclaim. So the fact that this didn't work out and you were unhappy is absolutely irrelevant to a lawsuit. Do you understand? Irrelevant. Now, did you and your tenant have any discussion about what damage you allege that the horses did?
Yes.
Was that the day that she left?
No, ma'am, it was prior to that, numerous occasions. Can you imagine I have something important? Just please, sir, ma'am, I have something important to show you.
Sure. Give it to Kevin and answer my question.
I shall.
Great. Do you have anything in writing, emails, etc., to demonstrate to me, other than verbal conversations, that the tenant was made aware of damages that the horses would...
The 43 pieces of evidence
I would like, just a second.
Does have that evidence that you're asking for.
Everything that you're going to hand me in that 43 pages, I just want to let you know, because when I go through 43 pages, if all of it is not relevant to the damage and the amount of damage that the horses did, that's not going to put me in a good mood. So make sure you're sending me all that stuff. Hold on a second.
This is important prior to even looking at that receipt. If you'd please refer to the last page of the summons and complaint.
What are you showing me?
What I'm showing you, ma'am, is that the summons and complaint was filed by the father.
I don't care.
No, ma'am. This is filing an illegal court document. I don't know why you don't care.
I don't care because I wish I could care. For your sake, I want to care. But for the purposes of this case, I don't care. All I want to see from you is the damage that you are alleging that was done to your property in excess of $925, which you kept as security deposit. That's all I want to see. I don't want you to tell me that her underwear doesn't match, that the wrong person filed the summons and complaint. I'm not interested. Very simple. Do you understand? Do you understand what I said to the plaintiff, sir? Did you understand that? Don't hand me all that stuff.
I'm not. I'm saying it's in folder 4 right in front of you. Those are the damages. The damage to the grass in front of all of the
No, that's not what I asked you for. If you follow instructions, I said to you, I want to see in writing, which you said you had, notification to your tenant prior to March 13th that damage was being caused to the property. And you said numerous. I said, show me. You said, I have 43 pages. I said, I'm not reading 43 pages unless it's all relevant. And if I read 43 pages and if it's not all relevant, it's going to put me in a bad mood, which I'm getting to.
Quickly, I see that.
Yes. because this is a lawsuit. It's not a kvetching contest.
It's not about fetching.
Do you understand? I didn't let her kvetch. I said, this is a lawsuit. You want your money back, you signed the document that says you're not getting your money back. That's what you signed.
The damage estimates are in the back of that folder.
And I told you, I'm not asking you for estimates.
Okay, you're asking me for communication between me and them. It was mostly verbal.
So then the answer is you don't have anything in writing.
There may be text messages. I did not review them.
Oh, okay.
But
so
there were
maybe,
text messages regarding her trough that was
maybe.
leaking, and she just ignored the text. She ignored text often.
I actually don't care.
I have pictures of the damage to the stables in there.
Yeah, $925, you got it. It's covered. You counterclaims dismissed. We're done. This case is over.
This court is adjourned.
The man was very harassing to me the whole time. I didn't get to show any of my text messages.
She was a week late with the rent. She signed the lease, brought the horses, and then, oh, I forgot the rent.
Into the second week we were there, I told my daughter, something's wrong with this man. We got to get the horses out.
A week later, she comes back with the rent, and I'm like, where's the deposit? She goes, oh, I didn't have the deposit. I'll get you that in a week.
He wanted me off the property. He said, I want no trespassing ordinance on you. I said, can I not feed my horses? No, get off the property.
These people were bananas, and they were damaging horses.
Good example out there of we here in court hear legal arguments, not emotional arguments. It can be, a therapeutic experience for the litigants to be able to get their story across or share the underpinnings of the story or what really went on is something that we hear a lot in court. But it doesn't matter how many color-coded files you have if they don't contain evidence that are pertinent to the legal argument, not the emotional argument. We don't want to see them. We don't want them.
Especially in this case.
It was cut and dry.
In this case, there were contracts.
Yeah, signed.
There were two
no
contracts, a lease and a termination of that lease with the terms.
Yep.
And there was only one word, Sarah, and that word was some.
And that allowed him to even bring the countersuit in the first place.
But it was sort of slick, the word some. If you're going to forfeit your $925 deposit, and what he's primarily complaining about was that the horses ate all his grass in his meadow. Right, for $925, you can buy an awful lot of grass seed.
Sure.
They're not about to build him a whole new piece of property. Didn't work out. There was a contract. Sort of interesting. Yeah.
Case 2203, McAlley versus Wainsworth. All parties, please step forward.
Susan McKaylee is suing her neighbor, Ed Wadsworth, for towing fees and car damage.
You know the defendant through a friend of yours.
I do.
She is a significant other partner.
Right now they're at roommate status, but...
Roommates.
Correct.
Of a friend of yours.
Correct.
Some time ago, you found a dog or rescued a dog and gave it to your friend and the defendant.
They had found the dog and rescued it.
Okay, so they found the dog.
Yes.
What kind of dog?
Kind of a... you could imagine him pulling a sled. I have a picture of him.
I'd like to take a look.
All right.
No.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
You can hand that to her.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Oh, he's wonderful.
He's beautiful. And tell me, you live with somebody as a roommate?
Yeah, she's my girlfriend, actually.
Girlfriend. Okay. And that's the girlfriend who's also your friend?
Yes. Very close.
How long have you been together?
Like 12 years.
What?
I know. But I've been there and done that.
You were afraid to even say that. 12 minutes, 12 hours, 12 days, 12 years. She's going to get me for that one. Okay. Is this the first dog that you had together?
We had a golden retriever that lived to be 16 years old and died this last summer. And then a friend of mine, he was driving to work one day and he saw what eventually became Snowy running around. So he rescued him.
When was this?
6-7 months at least.
6-7 months ago?
Yes. Beautiful animal. Just wonderful animal.
I see he's your screensaver.
Oh, yeah, I know it. In the morning, we'd let him out to do his business because we live in 20.
No, we're not there yet,
sorry.
sir. There was an incident that occurred when the dog got loose and you couldn't find him. How long had you had him before he got loose?
6 to 7 months.
Well, this is her complaint.
Yes.
She said it was January 2023 and you got him in December of 2022. You have a dog of your own.
It's my roommate's dog, and they're the same age.
Okay. And do they play together?
Yes, we use them, we socialize them.
May
together.
I see the photograph?
Yeah. Same age, and wanted to see how they socialized together, and they did great. They became great buddies.
Oh, they're wonderful together. Anyway, something happened in January, and you called the plaintiff and told her that Snowy had gotten out and he was missing and he didn't come back. Was he out overnight or just part of the... He was out overnight. Did you call her in the morning?
No, it was later in the afternoon. It was getting towards...
Okay, so he had been gone one whole night?
Yes.
And in the morning and afternoon of the next day?
Yes.
You tell me...
Claims her neighbor, Ed Wadsworth, owes for towing fees and vehicle damage.
Okay, had you been looking for him during that period?
I drove for hours.
Okay, and then you called her and asked for her help?
Yes.
I assume you asked for her help and told her to bring her dog, or this dog, because they were friends?
Yes.
Okay, he called you and said...
Well, I believe it was his girlfriend, my friend, our mutual friend, that asked to...
Just a second. So it wasn't the defendant who asked you. It was your girlfriend. But when you met, was your girlfriend there?
No, she was not.
Just he was there?
Correct.
Okay. And where did you meet?
It was outside his property.
Where was your girlfriend?
She was in the house. She's got some physical disabilities, and it's a struggle to get out in the snow for her.
Okay. So just the two of you, and each of you has a truck?
Correct. I was also with my roommate. She came as well because the dog is actually hers.
Okay.
So.
And I had the truck.
And you have?
I have a Honda Element, an old Honda Element.
Okay. So this is the case very briefly. I don't have to get into any more facts with you. The facts are relatively simple. Your dog got lost. Your girlfriend called her girlfriend and said, could you help find Snowy? Bring your dog with you because, you know, maybe that will be helpful in finding him. He's been out a day and a night, and you volunteered to go.
Yes.
And you went, and your car got stuck in the mud.
Correct.
And was damaged.
Correct.
And you think he's responsible, and you want him to pay for that?
Yes. Well, there's a little bit more to it.
You tell me why he's responsible.
Well, you know, this is a case of no good deeds go unpunished. The thing is that we asked him to come help tow the vehicle out. He said, sure. He also got stuck in that process. And then when I called the tow truck came, pulled him out, and then he just took off. No thank yous, no covering his expenses, and just left.
Oh, covering what expenses?
Covering the expense of the tow, and there was some damage to my...
Forget the damage to your car.
Okay.
He didn't even ask you to go. His girlfriend asked you to go.
Okay, well,
he didn't even ask you, even if he had. Your car got stuck. He wasn't driving your car, was he, when it got stuck?
No.
Okay, you were driving your car when it got stuck.
Correct.
Right. And he also got stuck.
Yes.
Okay, so legally there's no liability for him to pay for the damage to your car if your car was in fact damaged. I can't even think of a scenario where your girlfriend and his girlfriend would have been responsible. Your car got stuck in the snow. You're right, no good deed goes unpunished. It ended up costing you some money. But we're going to talk about the towing. Could I see the towing bill?
Yes.
Thank you. Say what? So, Mr. Wadsworth, this is my question to you, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
I read the complaint, I read the answer. Your truck got stuck in the mud as well.
That's correct. I asked her, I said, how's the ground? And she said it was frozen. But where she wasn't frozen. I pulled like crazy.
And who called the tow truck?
I did.
Were you able to extricate yourself without the tow truck? Just
no.
No. The tow truck had to tow you out as well as the plaintiff.
That's correct. But
okay, sir. So there's a tow truck bill for $330. Why shouldn't you be responsible for half of that?
Okay, well, the tow truck driver...
Don't tell me what the tow truck driver told you, sir.
Anyway.
Not anyway.
So
I want you to tell me, not a so. The tow truck came and towed both of you out of the mud.
That's right.
Now, there's a bill here for $330 that you say you paid in full.
Yes.
And I'm asking you why you shouldn't be responsible for half of that tow truck bill, not her car damage. You're not responsible for her car damage, but you tell me why you're not responsible for half the tow truck bill.
The tow truck couldn't get to her through me because it was such a mess. He had a long cable, and that's eventually how he pulled her out.
How did you get out?
He pulled me a little bit.
Because you couldn't get out yourself.
And then I drove the rest of the way.
You know the 3 most difficult words for a man to say?
Well, besides, I'm sorry.
How about, oh, it was my fault? Or how about, yes, I'm responsible? Or, yeah,
Well,
I'm sorry.
We had offered to use our tow service, which wouldn't have cost anything.
Did you call your tow service?
We called our
And
insurance
just a
company.
second. You called your insurance.
But Sue
don't
had already
speak.
called this other company.
Don't speak. I already explained to you why he's not responsible to the damage to your car. But you owe her $165. That's half the tow. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
Oh, you found the dog. You found the dog. I understand that you didn't find him in time he was injured, but he's home with you now?
He's home now.
Good.
Yes. I guess it was a fair judgment.
To me, it was the principle of, rewarding favors and being grateful for help.
The tires spun with 4-wheel drive, and then I got stuck.
In the end, the dog was found. He's safe. He's happy, and I'm grateful for that.
The judgment was okay?
I would do it again.
I liked the plaintiff's initial statement that no good deed goes unpunished. And this was a pretty easy case to split down the middle. Obviously, if you have a tow bill for 2 cars, one of them's yours, one of them's hers, split it, that's what you owe.
Easy.
So that was easy. But yeah, the rest of it is no good deed goes unpunished. I like that.
Yeah. And she was right. But I thought he was adorable when I said, how long have you been together? And he knew he was going to get it. And very quietly he said,
one of those.
12 years.
Well, 2 beautiful dogs and seems
Right.
like a nice life, a little
Yes.
bit of property, maybe get a fence.
Well, he had a fence because sadly, I read the complaint and I know the
I
dog
didn't
is
see
back
some of the other
home,
evidence.
but the dog got stuck on the fence and they had to amputate a leg.
Yeah, the chain, the small squared fence.
Right, I saw that and it was sad, but otherwise the dog is fine, healthy.
Avril Matthews is suing her former friend, Unati Mia, for medical bills after Unati damaged her teeth.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case 3057, Matthews versus Mia.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Matthews, how long do you know the defendant?
A few months, Your Honor.
Where did you meet her?
We met at a gathering, like through mutual friends.
And when did you meet her?
I would say probably the beginning of last year.
Give me a month and the year.
Probably like June, maybe, like in the
June
in summer,
is a
like last
question.
year.
I don't know when you met. The beginning of last year would be a January, not a June. That would be the middle of last year.
I would say
the questions are going to get harder, Miss Matthews, not easier. They're going to get harder.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, when did you and the defendant meet? Month and year?
May 2022, last year.
And the incident that you reference in your lawsuit against the defendant happened in April of 2023, so approximately a year later.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
Between May of 2022 and April of 2023, about how often did you and the defendant see each other?
I would say probably every other couple of months or every other weekend. Like it would be a regular
Just a
thing.
second. I want to tell you how silly you sound, because Whitney is going to read back what you just said. How often did you see each other?
On a regular
And just a
basis.
second.
Sorry.
I'm going to tell you what you just said.
I would say probably every other couple of months or every other weekend, like it would be a regular.
Every other couple of months would mean that maybe you saw her 4 times. If you saw her every other weekend, that's a different story. Do you understand? You have to get your story straight before you come here. Do you understand?
Yes.
Story straight. You get it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is what the case is about. So now I got my players. Is your claim that on an evening in April, the 2 of you went out for dinner, ended up in someone's apartment, I think yours, and the 2 of you were in the bedroom, sitting on the bed, phone rings, and it was your phone?
My phone.
Your phone, and somehow, according to the complaint, the defendant threw the phone at you and broke your teeth in the front. And that's what you're suing her for.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So that you don't know when you met her, and you don't know how often you saw her, but that you remember.
Yes.
So let's start with that evening, and then I have a few questions for you. Let's start with the evening of April what?
April 1st, 2023.
Did you meet her at a restaurant, or did you pick her up, or did she pick you up?
So we actually picked her up, and
we actually picked her up. Who's the we?
Me and a friend of mine.
Picked her up?
Yes.
And the three of you went out for dinner?
Yes, that's correct.
Finished dinner at about what time?
After 10, maybe going into 11 o'clock.
And now there are three of you leaving the restaurant at 11 o'clock.
Yes,
Keep
that's
going.
correct. So at the restaurant, we had some dinner and drinks, and we were having a conversation. I think it was like a debate, and we were speaking about something about how, from a woman's perspective and another woman's perspective, how a man would probably react to a certain situation, and we were in a disagreement about something. And then she proceeded to play fight with me, which I thought at the time was
You're talking about at dinner?
Yes, at dinner, at the restaurant, when we all three were there, and we were having a couple of drinks, and she proceeded to get physical with me. So it was play fighting at the time that I thought.
Wait just a second. Play fighting at the restaurant before 11 o'clock. Okay, so now there's play fighting before 11 o'clock, and what do you do when you leave the restaurant?
So we proceeded to go to a nightclub, but during the play fighting, I just want to go into detail that she had bit me.
I don't want to go into detail.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
I want to get to the case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you went to a nightclub. Did the three of you go to a nightclub?
Yes, Your Honor, we did.
For how long?
Close to 2 hours.
So now we're at 1 a.m.
Yes.
Did you have a good time at the nightclub?
Yes, you could say so. Yes.
I'm just
It
curious.
was okay.
I'm just curious.
Yes.
Did you dance?
Yes, you could.
Who did you dance with?
We would like dancing with each other, probably, we'd sit down and then we'd get up.
Not probably.
Excuse me?
Not probably. I wasn't there.
Yes, we would dance with each other, and then we would sit down, and then depending on what kind of music would be playing.
Yes. So it's now 1 a.m.
And later on, my witness joined us at the nightclub. So we were then 4 at the nightclub together.
Okay. And when did you leave the nightclub? 1 o'clock?
Yes, I would say like probably around 1.
Well, that's what you said before.
Yes, I think we were maybe there for a little bit longer because we then went to McDonald's afterwards. And at that time, they were selling breakfast.
What time did you leave?
So I would say much later than that. Now that I'm thinking about it, a little bit later than that. Good. Apologies, Your Honor.
Good. About what time?
I would say right when the nightclub was closing, so probably about 3.
So from 11 to 3, you were at a nightclub drinking and dancing. And then how did you get to McDonald's?
We drove.
Who drove?
My friend of mine that's not here currently.
And from McDonald's, where did you go?
We went to my place, Your Honor.
Did the 4 of you remain there?
Yes, Your Honor, the entire night.
Okay, so they were there and your friend was also there during this incident?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
So now you can tell me about the incident.
Okay, so we got to my place, and after coming from McDonald's, we got out of the car, and she had bit me again.
I want you to listen to me.
Okay.
I want you to get to the incident.
Okay.
We're not here at...
Avril Matthews claims her former friend, Unati Mia, owes for medical bills after she threw her phone at Avril.
So I want you to get to the period of time when you were injured. Who was there in the room and how it happened? Do you get it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect.
So we got into my place, and we were all sitting. We were in the living room, and we were all waiting for each other so that we could all eat together.
What do you mean, all eat together? From where? From McDonald's?
Yes.
So you had brought McDonald's back
to
your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Yes.
Now
so
move on.
I was in my room, and Unati was with me in the room, and Haji was out in my living room. And Unati got up, and her phone rang, or a beep or a text came through from her, and she got I don't know, like aggressive and wanted to get my attention to show me what was on her phone. And at that time, she called my name and I didn't respond to her. And she wanted to get my attention and she threw the phone at me. And I looked and I was like, oh, okay, like, wow. And out of shock, I then got up and I went to the bathroom. And at that time, Haji had witnessed her because Haji was going to the bathroom. So Haji walked in and at that time heard like, Avril, you know, I'm trying to get your attention. And Haji then saw her throw the phone at me.
Don't tell me what she saw.
Okay.
So she got up to go to the bathroom. The defendant's phone rang. Where was the defendant when you say her phone rang?
Well, she got a message.
Just
her phone
a second.
didn't ring. Okay, sorry, Your Honor.
Message, a bing, whatever it was. Where was she?
She was in the bedroom with me, Your Honor.
Bedroom where?
So I was laying on the bed, Your Honor.
You were laying on the bed.
I was laying on the bed.
You were laying on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Was she on the bed or was she standing?
At the time, she was sitting and then she got up.
She was sitting on the bed.
Yes.
Where was her phone?
Her phone was in her hand, I believe.
Just don't say you believe. I wasn't there.
Okay, yes, her phone
I wasn't there.
Her phone was in her hand.
The phone was in her hand.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So she was sitting on the bed. Her phone beeped or rang. It's in her hand. And she got up to a standing position.
Yes.
And she's looking at her phone or she's speaking into her phone?
She was looking at her phone. She wasn't speaking into her phone.
So she's now standing up, looking at her phone and
tried to get my attention.
Just a second. Trying to get your attention is a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
What did she do?
She called my name and I didn't like respond.
And you didn't?
Like, and I think that's when she threw the phone to like get my attention. But it was, I would say that it was like, I don't know what text message she got.
Just a second.
Okay.
And that's how your teeth got injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. So we have found the story. Now I just have to read this. Well, you see, your complaint, Miss Matthews, says that the phone was not in her hand. It says her phone beeped. She got up from the bed and grabbed her phone. That's what you said in your complaint.
Okay, so apologies, Your Honor. I think I was just trying to, like, figure out exactly what happened.
You know, we're not here at some science class, madam. We're in a courtroom. You signed a complaint.
Yes.
You know, I find this whole thing a little bit fishy anyway, and you're just feeding into that with some of your responses to me and some of what's in your complaint, because it all sounds bizarre. So I know I'm missing something. So was the phone, when it beeped, in her hand, or was it in a place where she had to get up and go and get it?
I would say that...
Not I would say. I don't want to know what you would say. I want to know the truth. There aren't different versions of the truth. There's only one version of the truth. So not I would say, think about it. And were you correct when you swore to this complaint that she got up and grabbed the phone? Or were you correct when you testified a moment ago that the phone was in her hand?
I would say that I was correct when I said on the paper that she got up and picked up the phone.
Now I'm going to go back. Where did she pick up the phone from?
I have like a dresser in my room.
A what?
Like I think it was the dresser. I'm not sure,
if you say, listen to me, if you say I don't know how this happened, it all happened so fast, that's okay. But if you keep, I think I have a dresser, and this is a dresser, so I think the phone was on
I would say that it happened off, like I'm just trying to replay the night, but I think that she got up and she took the phone, and that's when she got the text message.
Great. I feel so much more comfortable than when we started. All right, let's get to the bedroom.
All right.
Who was in the bedroom?
It was Avril, and...
Where was she?
She was in the living room.
And can you tell me why you were in the bedroom instead of in the living room?
I can't tell. You know, we don't know. We were in the living room, and then we just went to the bedroom. I really can't.
Okay, go.
Yes. So my phone was actually on her dresser. I had put my phone on the dresser when we came in, on her nightstand dresser, in front of her bed. I got the text message. I stood up, and I went around her bed, and I went to get my phone from the dresser. I stood in front of the bed, and she was in front of me, obviously on the bed. And I got a text message from a guy that I was talking to at the time. And I wanted her to see. So I was really excited, and I was telling her, oh, he texted me, and I was telling her what he was saying. And she's like, oh, let me see. And then she put her hands out, and I, in an underhand position, I passed her the phone.
So you tossed the phone?
I did.
You tossed the phone at her?
Your Honor.
And is that when it hit her in the mouth? Okay. Prior to all of these...
Avril Matthews is accusing her former friend, Unati Mia, of throwing her phone at Avril and damaging her teeth.
And then it took us a long time to get there, but clearly this was an accident.
Absolutely.
Accident happens when you're in a car. You don't mean to hit anybody, but you do. Accident happens if you're parking the car. You don't gauge that parallel parking just right. Well, if you're from Brooklyn, you always gauge the parallel parking just right. But it's an accident.
Your Honor.
But when...
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
When you have an accident, you have to pay for the accident because it's not an on purpose, but it's an accident. So I would like to see, dating back to the week of April 1st, any text messages that you have or emails between the two of you discussing the incident of April 1st.
April 1st.
In the week of the 1st, this is the only...
This doesn't say anything.
That's just the only conversation over text that we had.
Well, this doesn't say anything about the incident that happened.
Yeah,
nothing. Okay, let me see your evidence, Ms. Matthews, about the incident itself. You show me all those pages.
No, it's not any conversation regarding the night of the incident. It's all the conversations that we had regarding after I went to the ER and the bills.
I would like to take a look at those. Okay, well, it's clear, Ms. Maya, that prior to all of these emails, you and the plaintiff had a discussion where it was clear between the two of you that this accident was your fault because all of these emails discuss with the plaintiff payment. And to summarize what I've just read, she went to the emergency room. She went to a dentist. She got estimates. She was in discomfort. She told you what the proposal was. You said to her, you can get someplace cheaper. She said, I'm not going to do that. You said to her, well, if you're not going to do that, meet me halfway. You know, I make the minimum wage. I can't afford all of these bills, which suggests to me that you understood your culpability, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm not suggesting, nor was there any indication to me that this was a purposeful assault. Wasn't. It was a stupid accident. You were both probably drunk. I'd like to see all of your medical bills, please, starting with the ER. There's a lot of bills for me to go through.
Yes.
Did you have the work done yet?
I had some work done, and for future, I still have to have one more procedure done on me, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at the report from the dentist requiring another procedure.
Okay.
Maybe. But let's see what you had done so far.
Okay, Your Honor. Let me just put it in order.
And you have proof of payment of those bills?
No, I haven't paid any of it, Your Honor.
None of it? You mean the dentist worked for nothing?
I have the proof for the consultations that I've paid. So I paid for the consultation.
I want to see proof of payment of how much you paid. So your initial visit at the ER was $985.
Yes.
And it is for a tooth. That's what it says. A tooth.
So they had placed...
Okay. Just telling you what it says. Okay. So a lot of this work has yet to be done.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And in order to have it done, they want to be paid.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
But the 4,600...
I didn't ask you a question. You understand, Ms. Maya, that I believe that this was an accident.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe that it was an accident.
I don't care what you believe, and I didn't pose a question to you. You understand that I believe that this was an accident.
Yes, ma'am.
It was an accident, however, that you caused. And when you cause an accident and someone is injured, you have to pay for it. And she has to have work done. She's a young woman, and she shouldn't have to have this kind of problem, because this kind of problem will only be magnified over her years. You have to take care of it. It's well over $10,000. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000. Thank you. We're finished.
Yeah.
This court is adjourned.
She was really begging on my character, saying that I assaulted her, and she knows very well that it was an accident.
I don't know, was it the alcohol or if she was jealous? I don't know what it was.
I really do think that there's something seriously wrong with her.
My teeth were displaced out of my mouth and got pushed totally back.
So I did see the damage. I don't think it was as bad as she says it was, but
I'm very grateful for how she went about things, and I feel like the way that it needed to go, it needed to go.
I never want to see her again.
You know, this reminded me of one of my dad's favorite pearls of wisdom from childhood. You know, in my teens, I got into a little accident with the car, and I came home and I said, Dad, you know, I got into this little accident and I don't know what to do, and I'm gonna have to, you know, we have to pay for it with the pronoun usage. And he said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Is it more my fault than it was your fault? Because I was home in my pajamas watching Gold Rush. So would you say that it's more your fault to handle or mine? And, you know, when he said that to me, it really makes a lot of sense. That's not what you want to hear as a 17-year-old who just got into a little bit of a car accident. But you have to take the approach as the defendant, as she did here, which is, I know it was an accident. It wasn't on purpose. I know I have to pay for it. And that's why they're called accidents. Like you said, they're not on purpose. But is it any more the plaintiff's fault than it was the defendant's for getting hit in the mouth? I don't think so.
I think the plaintiff was under the impression that unless she could establish that it was a purposeful assault, that the defendant wasn't responsible.
No, yeah, I felt that as well.
I think that that's what she thought, but she was wrong.
Yeah.
But she'll get her teeth fixed anyway.
And I think that was
and
the right call.
And your father was right. It's more your fault than it was his fault.
True.
Dean Miller is suing vehicle owner Robert Pena for damage after his 17-year-old son hit Dean's car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2076, Miller versus Pena.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Pena, is that your son?
Yes, it is.
The one who was driving the car?
Yes.
Okay, good. You stand up next to your father. Mr. Miller, is your claim that the defendant's son hit your car that was parked in a parking lot?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it was parked in the parking lot of a high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you work in that high school?
Yes.
As what?
I'm a teacher.
What do you teach?
I teach what's called on-site continuation. It's a continuation classroom for 10th through 12th grade students.
Do you go to that school?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. On what date did you park your car when you allege it was hit?
That was on March 8th, Your Honor.
You were in school that day.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you should know that in reviewing this case, Mr. Miller, because he was not there when his car was hit.
Correct.
Correct? And so he alleges that it was you who hit his car and then left the scene. Your father said it was not you who hit his car, and there's no proof that it was you who hit his car. That's what your father said. Before you answer my questions, I'm going to tell you that Mr. Miller has a video that he says was taken by school cameras that were zoned onto the parking lot that demonstrates that you actually did hit his car and leave. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
So now we're going to go back to March 8th, and you're going to tell me what happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So I drive myself to school every day, or at the time I was driving myself to school because that was my only way of getting to school.
Did you have a driver's license?
At the time, no, I did not have a driver's
So you were driving a car without a driver's license.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what kind of a car were you driving?
It was a 1991 Camaro.
Where did you get the car from?
Me and my dad had gone off the street. It was a project car.
How old are you?
17.
Did you try to take a driving test?
Yes.
When?
Back when I had turned 17, actually, in February of last year.
And you didn't pass it?
No.
Did you take the written test?
No.
What did you take in February?
The practical test.
Just the practical test, the driving test.
Yes.
And you failed that.
Yes.
So despite the fact that you failed that, you drove the car, and your father knew that you were driving the car without a license. That's a yes or a no?
Yes.
Was there insurance on this car, Mr. Pena?
No, there wasn't.
So no insurance, no license. So far, not good parenting. You understand that, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so you drove yourself to school and?
There's a parking lot that all the students, teachers, anyone who goes to school, really, they can park
Yes, nobody suggests you were trespassing in a place that you weren't supposed to be.
Yeah, so every morning I would park in...
Not everyone, look at me. That day, Mr. Miller's car.
Yes, Your Honor. That day, March 8th, I came to school as usual and I parked in my area, and then one of the on-school deputies that the school has, he pulled up right behind me as I parked, and he asked me for my information, he asked me for my name, my school ID.
I want to know what happened with Mr. Miller's car.
Oh, nothing happened with Mr. Miller's car.
So what you're telling me is that you did not hit Mr. Miller's car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, Your Honor.
What car were you driving that day?
1991 Camaro.
What color is it?
Red.
How long have you been going to that school?
It's my 4th year going.
How many other people drive a 1991 Camaro? Red. Nobody.
Nobody.
And so I'm going to watch this video. Sarah, do we have the video?
I have it. So,
Mm-hmm.
wait, you'll see it.
Okay. You had a truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so there's no question you hit the truck. Do you want me to show you the video?
No, Your Honor.
Well, if you don't want to see the video, that's because you told me a lie.
Oh, yes, I'd like to see the video.
Absolutely. Going to watch very carefully, you pulling into a spot, and the truck moved as you were pulling in. Have they shown you the video, Mr. Pena?
They showed me a different version of that video.
Well, I've just seen the version that I saw. Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Saw the truck move, did you?
Yes, it did.
When you were pulling in next to it?
Yes, I was.
When you were pulling in next to it? So that didn't happen because there was an earthquake. That happened because you hit the truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. Now we understand each other, Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Great. That's a yes. Okay. Can I see pictures of your truck, please, and the estimate to repair it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you seen the photographs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Totally consistent, right? Okay. Mr. Miller, you're from California?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you regularly teach today?
Yes.
So you had to take a day off.
Yes, I have a substitute today, yes.
How many days off are you allowed?
10 per year. I've accumulated quite a few because I don't take many days off.
You get paid for those days?
I get compensated because I have sick days or personal necessity days.
The reason I'm asking you these questions, Mr. Miller, because it's no question that you are entitled to have your car fixed. But that's, to me, even though that's all you're requesting, I think the fact that Mr. Pena allowed his son to drive a car without insurance and without a license, not only without a license, but knowing that his son took a driving test the month before and failed it, which means that he was not a good driver. Not a good enough driver to get a driver's license. And I have a lot of people in my family that don't drive well, that I don't like to be in the car with. But they all have driver's licenses because they managed to pass a driving test. So I know that you are only requesting the $1,524, but I'm actually awarding you $2,500.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And that's for the aggravation of, instead of Mr. Pena saying to you, I'm sorry, my son hit your car, because either his son lied to him.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Either his son lied to him, or his son told him the truth, but he lied to me. And he's the grown-up. He set an example for his son that said it's okay to break the law. Not only for you, because you take the car to school. Take the car to school, even though you failed. Take the car to school. It has no insurance. If you hit somebody in that car and you seriously injure them, that car has no insurance. Car has no insurance. He has nothing to lose. Car has no insurance, but the person who he hit, person whose property he may have destroyed, they have no recourse. You understand, sir, That's a bad parental example. You want to say something to me or not?
Yes, I do.
Dean Miller claims vehicle owner Robert Pena owes for damage after his 17-year-old son hit Dean's car.
Go ahead.
My thing I didn't like was how he got approached.
I don't care whether you like it or not.
That's what I didn't.
I don't care whether you like it or not. Did your son come home from school that day and say, I hit somebody's car?
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Nowhere.
And just a second. And when you asked him whether he hit somebody's car, what did he tell you? Just be careful.
He said, I think. He felt intimidated
just a second.
by
I think.
the sheriff and him.
I don't care that you didn't like it. That's not as a parent. That's not as a parent the lesson you should be teaching. First of all, you allowed your son to violate the law. You allowed it. And then, I mean, I would certainly know whether I caused that much damage. He knew that that car moved. So either he lied to you or you lied to me. And whether or not you liked the way the school official spoke to him or the sheriff spoke to him, that is totally irrelevant to me. That shouldn't be the takeaway from this. The takeaway from this is you're supposed to follow the rules. The rules are meant for everybody, and that includes you and your kid. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Police officer came behind me when I parked and accusing me that I'd hit someone.
The school deputy saw the video, knew the car, so he approached the student.
The person who I supposedly hit came out with a megaphone yelling at me.
There is no megaphone, so I don't know where that came from.
Telling me that I'd hit him. So I was kind of like freaking out. I didn't really know what to think.
If it happened to me, he could hit someone else. And
I didn't know I hit your car. Like, did I hit your car? Like, I didn't even know what to think. I could have sworn I did not.
This was fortunate that it was just a parked car in a parking lot.
It is time to get his license, yes, that is correct.
It is time to get the car fixed and just get some closure on this.
In our family, we would call that contact a love tap. And as someone who has had a few run-ins potentially with stationary objects, I will tell you.
Not potentially.
I will tell you, you know when you hit a stationary object, even if it's just a light little love tap. So I just thought it was outrageous that the defendants, father and son, they knew that there was a video and still took the position of, nope.
Well, his father's position was, I didn't like the way they spoke to my son, and therefore, I'm not responsible. They shouldn't have spoken to him. I mean, he's 17 years old, but he looks like a man. He's taller than his father, you know.
You have to take responsibility.
But you have to take responsibility and not drive a car, especially. You failed a driving test. The most basic thing. I mean, you know, we have
I will say, I did pass on the first try, so.
Yes, but we have people in our family who actually did not.
Okay, yes.
And they
will
didn't
not be
drive.
named.
And they didn't drive a car.
Yeah.
Until they could pass a driving
and
test.
their parents were the first ones to say, no shot until you pass that test.
Absolutely.
So parents need to be responsible as well.
Right.
Case 2104, Birkeland versus Lefkowitz. All party, please step forward.
Shannon Birkeland is suing her former roommate, Ian Lefkowitz, for unpaid rent and eviction costs.
Ms. Birkeland, how long had you lived in your residence?
Prior to the defendant moving in?
Yes.
2 years.
And how long did you live there with the defendant?
A total of 5 years.
You lived
the
in
defendant, I'm sorry, 3 years.
3 years.
This month would have been.
And for most of that 3-year period, what kind of work do you know that the defendant did?
Computer work and music producing.
How do you support yourself, sir?
I produce music. I don't do computer work.
Produce music for whom?
Various artists and brands and whatever.
How long have you been doing that?
Since I was 13 years old.
How old are you now?
32.
You have a corporation or an LLC?
Not currently standing, but I do have one that is out of commission right now that needs to be reestablished.
When was the last time you filed tax returns?
Last
April.
Last April, yeah.
And on your tax returns that you filed, how much did you indicate that you earned?
I receive royalties from a company called, and they take my taxes out automatically, so I'm not sure how much.
I'm asking you how much you reported your gross income was when you filed your tax returns in April.
They come automatically, is what I'm saying. I didn't file them. They're paid for and filed automatically by the company that distributes my royalties.
So is what you're saying you didn't file tax returns in April?
I assume that they're filed automatically through this company that pays me.
Mr. Lefkowitz, when was the last time you put a stamp on tax returns that you sent to the government?
I do not know.
Ever? You have to think?
No.
Ever?
Like I said, where I make most of my money, if not all my money, comes through a company called, which they take out the taxes automatically before paying me. So I've never filed through that. I just assumed that it was already taken care of in that way.
You assumed wrong.
Okay.
Okay. There came a time, Mr. Lefkowitz, you lived there for 3 years, but there came a time when you stopped paying rent.
Correct.
And what was your rent when you moved in with the plaintiff?
$1,200 a month.
You had your own room?
Yes.
Bathroom?
Yes.
You moved in what month and year?
2019 in October.
And as you said, most of your money comes from royalties, and I assume that's royalties on past work.
Yes.
And you've been existing on that for how long?
8 years or so.
So how much do you make from these royalties? You pay $1,200 a month rent, you have a car.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh, it's not an answer.
Yes.
You have a
how
car.
much do I make?
So you have a car, you have insurance.
Yes.
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Honda Clarity.
What year?
It's a lease. It's a 2021.
And how much do you pay a month for the lease?
$395.
Does that include insurance or does it not include insurance?
It does not include insurance.
So you pay an additional how much for insurance?
About $350.
So you spend $700 a month for your car.
Correct.
And let's get back to, you moved in October of 2019, your rent was $1,200 a month. And you lived there until when?
Until about 2 months ago. So September 4th or 3rd is when I moved all my stuff out.
And when was the last month you paid rent?
That would have been in December of 2021.
So you lived there January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and part of September. So at least 8 months that you lived there and didn't pay rent.
Mm-hmm. Well, I wasn't there for August, pretty much the
Your
entire.
things were there.
Sure.
If your things are there, you're there.
Okay.
Because that's part of what she's suing for, rent that you didn't pay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still living there?
No.
Why not?
I was evicted.
When?
The exact date is August 2nd. I do have my paperwork for notice to vacate and all that.
Just a second.
Sure.
On August 2nd of 20...
I'm sorry, that was the court date, and that's when the judgment was made, was August 2nd.
And when did you move out?
2 weeks later.
That's not true.
And you were evicted for non-payment of rent?
Yes, for 2 months. Yes.
Just a second. You were evicted for non-payment of rent?
Yes, for 2 months.
Well, show me that it was for 2 months. I just want to see that it was for 2 months and what 2 months those were.
That page right there.
No, you didn't leave until, let's say, September 1st.
That sounds more like it.
You didn't leave until September 1st.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I did mistakenly speak. I do remember that the judge...
Don't tell me what the judge said. I'm asking you when you left.
Gave me 6 weeks from that date of August 8th. So I left September 8th.
And you left at about the same time.
I left prior, but I called my neighbor at...
Just a second.
Yeah.
You left at about the same time.
A few days before.
Fine, that's at about the same time.
She actually left after that. I talked to a neighbor that said around the 14th that she was still there.
You can't tell me what the neighbor said, sir. That's why I stopped you before.
In Berkeley, claims her former roommate, Ian Lefkowitz, is responsible for unpaid rent.
Okay, this eviction notice is dated May 26, and it says that you didn't pay April or May.
Correct.
But both of you lived there in June. Did you pay June?
Yes.
Show me proof. Show me proof that you paid June and July. Show me proof you didn't pay April and May. Show me proof that you paid.
My proof?
Your proof.
Is in the fact that I don't owe any rent except for when the moratorium lapsed and I...
No.
I don't have a receipt. I don't have a receipt for payment.
Then just say I didn't pay rent for June and July.
I did not pay rent for June and
Well,
July.
just answer that question. So you didn't pay rent for June and July.
Yeah.
Here we go. And you didn't pay for April, May, June, and July. I know you didn't pay for August. There's no question you didn't pay for August, and you were actually there in August, so you didn't pay for 5 months.
I guess, yes.
Okay, yes. And the reason that you didn't pay rent for those 5 months was what?
I had spent all my savings on paying rent, and I had none left. I paid as much as I could, supporting him.
Just a second.
The best I could, and I...
What happened is you both sort of took advantage of this rent moratorium.
Not true.
Well, if you didn't pay rent for April, May, June, July, and August, what were you doing?
Waiting for him to pay his rent because I couldn't afford to pay for my station.
Just a second.
Yeah.
You didn't pay any rent. You didn't say to the landlord, I have a roommate. I can't take care of him. I'm giving you my half of the rent.
Well, I know there's a moratorium for COVID, and the government shut my business down.
That's what he says.
I knew that I had protection.
That's what he says. He's saying the exact same thing you are in his answer.
Did he go to court and do the paperwork and do the filings and
Who cares?
And I do.
Who cares? I don't. Each of you seems to be living. You operate your hair business out of your house.
In addition to
just
another business, yes.
Whatever. You operate your hair business out of the house. He operates, I don't know what he does, but I know he's 32 years old, supports himself, spends $700 a month on a car, spent for a long time $1,200 a month rent, and can't remember the last year or the last decade that he filed tax returns. So whatever it is, this is your problem, Miss Birkeland, and this is what I actually didn't understand when I read your complaint, because what you're looking for is 8 months' rent from him.
Correct.
You didn't pay the rent.
I shouldn't be evicted. I asked him to leave every month that he didn't pay me.
Should have read a cutter.
I had a business as a hairdresser, and I went out to rent a station, and I was out for 4 months to pay for a station.
It doesn't
because
matter.
I wanted to go back to be my nice space that I had created for myself, and I've worked my butt off for, and my clients liked. I wasn't getting paid rent for his room. I wanted to move my studio into his room and make it my hair salon. So I can have 2 businesses now out of my home. I have 0 income, 0 businesses. My life has not been easy. And this home was the one thing that I've worked my ass off for. It's the only thing in life that I loved. Besides
Miss Birkeland, did you say to your landlord,
yes,
I have a roommate.
Yes.
He's not paying me his half of the rent, but I want to show you in good faith, I am going to give you my portion of the rent. You didn't do that.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Well, show me. Just a second. Show me. All I know is they say this is your evidence for the full amount of the rent for April and May. And I know you didn't pay June, July, August, and September. I know you didn't pay that, so I'm asking you, just show me some proof, Miss Birkeland, that you said to your landlord, who is also in business of renting space for which they are requesting rent paid in a timely fashion, and then they've got 2 people who decide, well, we have a rent moratorium. I'm not in any worse position now than before, so I'm just not going to pay rent.
Your Honor, I was...
Just show me that you made partial payment to the landlord for April, May, June, July, and August.
I don't have that because I was protected under the law.
Okay, good. And so is he. Case is dismissed. We're finished. Goodbye. Goodbye. Listen, you two are so. You're just.
Attempted to pay full rent.
You two.
Gone, and I was able to bring my business into the house.
You two are soulmates. You both relied.
No, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
How?
This court is adjourned.
Soulmates. You both took advantage of a law, and you both lost. Goodbye.
I have nowhere to operate both of my businesses. I created one during COVID.
We both exercised our rights under California tenant laws.
Which I would have had I had a room that he wouldn't leave.
You know, that's just what it is.
Every month I pleaded with him.
It never happened.
I cried, I fought.
She never asked me to leave crying, approached me, nothing.
If it can be helped, don't have a roommate.
I'm glad you didn't give her any money. But if you were going to award any money in this case, it should go to the landlord because the plaintiff did the exact same thing using the exact same legal loophole that was created during COVID for people who really were struggling and not being able to afford their rent. And now she sues him for doing the exact same thing that she did. So the landlord is really the only one out here.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And if you could write a check to the landlord, that would be fine. But the landlord isn't a party. I have a feeling that there are a lot of very small landlords, you know, not people that own giant buildings, but people who have, you know, their real estate businesses are small. They may have 2 or 3 or 4 apartments that they rent. They maintain them, whatever. She was living there for a while, clearly happy with the situation because she lived there for 5 years. Well, Why just not pay your rent if you're still doing hair in the apartment? That's a business. That's what you're doing. He's still collecting his same royalties, which you think somebody else should be reporting on their tax return. I don't know. People have to really grow up. I'm getting so losing my patience so quickly.
Maybe I'm losing it a little young.
Maybe. I think I'm tarnishing you.
Friend and handyman Brandon Hall for check fraud and filing a false restraining order.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Hi. Case number 2046, Rapp versus Hall.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Rapp, not a very difficult case. The defendant was a friend of yours / did some work for you. It's not really relevant how you met him. It was sort of through a social situation. And it is your claim that over a period of time, Mr. Rapp forged your signature to several checks.
Correct.
And then when confronted by the fact that you've discovered these forgeries and asked him for money, he filed a restraining order against you to keep you away from him, and you say that the restraining order was a false one, and you want to be compensated for having to deal with that.
I do. I missed work.
Just a second. So I'm going to deal with the restraining order first. When did you file a restraining order, Mr. Hall?
I believe it was the 17th of July.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
So not so long ago. I'd like to see the paperwork that you filed in support, just the paperwork that you gave to the court in support of your restraining order, why you were asking for a restraining order.
Okay.
Don't tell me, is that what you filed with the court?
Yes.
I'd like to see. So let's just be clear. You filed all these documents with the court when you asked for a restraining order?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've read some of the text messages, and you're aware of what the text messages say.
Yes.
I assume you're aware of what they say. Uncross your hands.
Oh, yes.
And that part of your application for damages as a result of filing a false restraining order is denied. You can't even suggest in a text message that you're going to do something violent in order to get him to pay money that you owe. Do you understand that?
I do.
Okay, so as
Although
frustrated...
the restraining order was dismissed.
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you, I've read it, and some of your text messages sound threatening.
I was angry.
I understand you were angry. The question is not whether he should be granted a restraining order. I don't have to deal with that. I have to deal with the fact that in the text messages, you make certain threats. What if I could? And all that transpired at a time when the defendant reconciled with his wife and family. So, as I said, as a result of reading your text messages, I believe that Mr. Hall had the right to feel threatened and to file for a restraining order. Whether the court that heard the application for a restraining order felt that your behavior warranted a restraining order is another thing. But I can understand why he would file a restraining order to try to keep you away from him and his family.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Great. Now I want you to tell me why you forged her name to checks.
Because she...
$8,800 worth of checks. Now you have the right to file a restraining order.
Because she asked me to do this.
Because she asked you to forge her name to the checks.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to tell me when the first time she asked you to forge her name to a check. And I assume, just like you've kept all these documents.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a document to show me, just one. Because if you show me one, I would tend to think that there were more. So just show me one where she said to you, forge my name to a check.
Okay.
Take the money out and forge my name to a check. Don't say anything. Just show me. Don't shake your head. It's annoying.
I believe this is the first one.
Okay. So in that one, she asks you to sign. Well, maybe. What are you showing me?
The check.
I don't want to see the check. You know how you kept these text messages that you texted back and forth and back and forth? I want you to show me, because you're methodical, one time out of the 6, 7 times that you forged her name to checks, show me one time where she said to you, in a text message, in an Instagram, in a pigeon note, where she said to you, take out a check from my checkbook and forge my name to it because I want you to have money. Just show me.
I don't have
Of
something
course
like
not.
that. No.
Of course
No,
not.
I don't.
Now, the first time you forged her name to a check was what month and year?
I believe that it was December 9th.
Of 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
And what were you and Miss Rapp engaged in at that time that she told you to forge her name to a check?
Okay, so I'm an electrician, and I've been an electrician for 13 years. I've been doing side work all around my county, and there's a handful of liquor stores that trust me that I can go and cash personal checks that I get paid for doing my side work. Miss Rapp knew that, and...
Don't tell me what she knew.
Okay, all right. So she would be locked out of her account for one reason or the other, and she would ask me, like on a Friday, she wouldn't be able to get access to her money, and I knew she had money.
Well, she couldn't get access to her money, so these weren't your checks you wrote out. You wrote out her checks. It'd
Right.
be frozen out whether you went to take out money or she went to take out money.
Right. Also, on a Friday, the liquor store would not deposit these checks until Monday. So I cashed these checks for her to give her cash.
Did you ever have sex with the plaintiff?
No.
Do you think she wanted to have a relationship with you?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
What makes you think so?
Well, the
text message.
The text message.
The text message that she
Yeah.
said to you. And who is Robert?
Is her ex-boyfriend?
And do you know Robert?
I do.
How do you know Robert?
I'd known Robert for 20 years. Been friends.
And when did you start doing work for the plaintiff? Before or after Robert? Is not an answer.
It was after.
It was after.
Yes.
Okay. Give me an idea of when. You've cashed the first check in December of 2021. Give me some idea of when you were aware of the fact that the plaintiff and your dear friend of 20 years were no longer an item. Is not an
I
answer.
don't know what month he was arrested. So
Arrested for?
June, maybe.
Arrested for?
I don't know his charges.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
Leslie Rapp claims her former friend and handyman, Brandon Hall, forged her checks and filed a false restraining order against her. Brandon says he had Leslie's permission to write the checks.
I'm just telling you, I don't believe that you don't know the charges of somebody who you were friendly with for 20 years and who was arrested. I don't believe that you don't know because it belies credulity. Okay?
That's fine.
So before your dear friend of 20 years was arrested, did you ever cash any checks for her?
No.
After Robert was arrested? Yes. Did you ever do any work for her before Robert was arrested?
No.
When did you and your wife separate? Month and year.
Maybe February of 21.
And were you still together with Robert in February of 2021?
Yes.
And when did you and the lovely Robert separate?
Robert was removed from my life August 11th of 21.
The defendant acknowledges in his answer that he forged your name, not only your name, your signature, but wrote out checks, actually wrote out in his own handwriting, checks in the amount of $8,800.
Yes.
And he acknowledges that, but he says they were because you asked him to, or it was for work he did for you. Those were your answers, right?
No, these checks were not for any jobs that I did for her. They were strictly to get access to some of her money during the weekends and stuff. And then when she was out of town as well.
Get her access to her money and when she was out of town.
When she was out of town,
if you cashed her checks when she was out of town, how did she get money?
I Venmo'd the money to her.
Okay, so that you have a record of, that you Venmo'd the money to her.
Yes.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it.
Here you go. Here's all the Venmo deposits. Her sending me
To
money.
her. No, not. Just a second. Try not to confuse me. I'm an old person. I want to see only the monies, because she's going to show me the checks that you forged. And contemporaneously, which is a close period of time, with those forged checks, you would have put the money in her Venmo account.
On a couple of different occasions, yes.
Just a second. Just show me those cases. She's going to take out the checks that you forged. And those checks should coincide date-wise with the Venmo transactions. Am I doing that right?
Yeah.
Venmo.
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't see where I have the ones that I deposited in her account. These seem to all be her depositing into my account.
Duh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I do have.
So let us understand this, Miss Rapp. Did you ever give him permission? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Did you file a police report?
Yes, I did.
You did. I'd like to see a copy of the police report.
I haven't.
Then we're in good shape. Mr. Hall, how many weekly payments did you make to her on Friday?
I have a list of that from.
From February.
This is from Mrs. Rapp in.
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you, how many payments did you make for writing these unauthorized checks to her?
Seven.
And what was the total amount of those checks?
$3,700.
Why in the world would you pay her $3,700?
If you could look in those messages, I was being. She was saying she was going to put me in jail for doing things.
For forgery.
Okay.
For forgery.
Right.
And you asked her not to.
Right.
And you said, I'll pay you back.
Right.
Right. I'll pay you back. Just give me some time. I have 2 kids to support.
Right.
Is that what you said to her?
Yes.
$8,800 judgment for the plaintiff. We're done here.
Is adjourned.
Well, I'm happy about the outcome because
I think it's bogus, man.
I really need the money.
Because she started all this craziness as soon as I went back to my wife.
There was never a relationship between the two of us.
After that, when she started doing all this, is when I went and filed for a restraining order.
He did that as a direct retaliation for the police report I filed.
She's gonna have to call somebody else for sure.
It's definitely time for a new handyman.
Just a casual note. Yeah. I have been with my husband, your grandfather, for almost 50 years. And we each have our bank account, and then we have a joint bank account. I have never either asked him or given him permission to sign my signature to a check.
Yep.
He hasn't never asked or given me permission to sign his signature on one of his checks. Now, we may ask each other, listen, it's busy, I'm going to go through these checks. We're making all these checks out to the doorman and to Christmas time and whatever, and then I'll sign them. Just doesn't happen. So
Doesn't make sense.
Right. And so what it is to any job that you do, whether it's a lawyer or a judge, you bring with you your own common sense and your own life's history. I hope that works, because I cannot imagine somebody saying, write out a check for yourself. I don't know you, we're not involved, we're not married, go help yourself.
Hunter Pelletier is suing his former friend, Alexandria Allen, for a washer and dryer.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2043, Pelletier versus Allen.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This young lady is a friend of yours.
A former friend, correct.
How friend?
I met her from another mutual friend that I had, and we just formed a relationship together, just a friendship.
Are you married?
I'm not, I'm single.
Any kids?
No.
And what about the defendant?
She does have 2 kids, and she is married.
Currently?
Yes, currently married.
Are you also friendly with her husband?
Yeah, just friends. We were, yeah, before all this took place.
So that all of you were friends?
Yes, at one point, yes.
Case is relatively simple. Miss Allen's washer and dryer stopped working.
Correct.
You had done some odds and ends things for her in the past.
Yes, worked on her car and stuff.
And did you find or did she find the used washer and dryer?
She asked me for recommendations, and she found it on the selling app for used items.
So you told her where she might look for it?
Correct.
And she found it on an app online?
Correct.
Okay.
No,
Now-
actually.
Look at me.
Okay. He made the recommendation to me.
Did you go on the app yourself?
No, I did not.
So you never saw the washer and dryer?
Well,
Is that what you're... Just a second. So what you're saying, I just want to be clear. So I said, if you didn't go on the site, then you never saw the washer and dryer.
May I speak now?
Either you did go on the site and see it, or I didn't go on the site. I didn't see it.
He sent the picture of them to me, just a screenshot. That's all I got.
Okay. How old are you?
32.
You have 2 children?
Yes.
Did the screenshot show you where they came from?
I have a photo of them, and it doesn't say anything.
So is what you're telling me you didn't know where they came from?
Well, there is a name of the site. Would you like to know that?
I want to know if you knew it.
Yes, I know.
All right. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. You knew the site where the photo came from. So let's say you are correct, and I don't know. You said you needed a washer dryer. You say he found the washer and dryer on a site, sent a photo to you and said, is this what you're looking for?
Correct.
Right? And on that screenshot was the site.
Right.
So you had at least access to the same site that he did.
That's correct.
And did the site give you the name of the person or persons to contact with regard to the washer dryer?
There was no one's name. No one's name, just a phone number.
Did you call a phone number?
I didn't call them.
Who called them?
Mr. Pelletier.
Now, Mr. Pelletier didn't call them unless you said they looked fine.
Well, I did say they looked fine.
Well, what else did you say?
Based on the picture, they looked.
Just a second. Just answer my question.
Okay.
Because what happened here is really relatively simple. And I don't know whether you're a simple person, but it's relatively simple. You had a friend. You told him I needed a washer and dryer. Mine broke down. He said, this is a great site. According to you, I'll look up, and he looked up the washer and dryer, and you did nothing. You, who needed the washer and dryer, you must work very hard. How many jobs do you have?
I have a couple of jobs. My children are a big job, for one. And two, I'm a full-time university student, so I am busy.
So you should be able to get a washer and dryer by yourself. You farmed that job out to him.
I did because he volunteered to help.
Doesn't matter. He didn't volunteer to help unless you told him I need help. I mean, is what it is. Are you using him? I'm not sure.
I wouldn't.
I'm not sure. What do you do for him?
I watched his cats. When he went out on a vacation with his grandmother, and I took care of his cats free of charge because, well,
for how long?
I didn't expect him to be gone that long either. It was over a week, and I had to buy the cats food.
So, just a second. So you watched his cats?
Yes.
And is what you believed that him taking care of getting this washing machine payment for taking care of the cats?
Well, not just that. There's other things that happened while he was installing the washer and dryer.
I don't care about things that... What I'm asking you is I'm trying to figure out what kind of person says to a friend, I need a washer and dryer. He says, as a friend, I'll see if I can help you. You have time. You also go on the computer and figure it out. Being a full-time student is nice. That's what you chose. Somehow, you also support yourself and your two children. I don't even want to go into how that's done. However, you said, go get the washer and dryer. And he went, how long?
It's 50 miles from my house, an hour and 45 minutes.
Each way to pick up the washer and dryer that you authorized him to get. You said, go get it. It was $1,800.
Correct. And she offered $200 tip for the delivery of that.
For you?
Correct.
Okay.
And I have texts of that.
That's reasonable because you spent 3.5 hours in the car. Now, do they live on the first floor?
The third floor.
Third floor. Is it a walk up?
Yeah, it's stairway up to the third floor.
So somebody had to go up and take the old washer dryer out. So, Miss Allen, was that you or your husband?
Mr. Pelletier also removed them.
No, you can move your mouth. It's okay if you move.
No,
it's okay if you move your mouth.
Hunter Pelletier claims his former friend, Alexandria Allen, is responsible for the cost of a washer and dryer.
The plaintiff walked up the 3 flights of steps, carried each of the washer and dryers downstairs, took the washer and dryers from downstairs up the 3 flights, got them installed, and you didn't like them. They were a different color.
And they're busted up. They don't even work properly.
Okay. Miss Allen, when did this happen? In what month?
January 7th of 2022.
You have receipts for different washers and dryers that you purchased since January of 2022?
I do not have the receipts, no.
That means that you didn't purchase them.
Well, I never paid him for them.
No. That means that you never purchased new ones. That means that you're still using the ones he bought.
Correct. But right. It did not work well.
Just... You bought used washer and dryer. You've been using them January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 8 months, and you're still using them. And you neither paid for them, nor did you pay him for delivery. And I don't know what your excuse is.
I feel like
I don't care what you feel like. I don't care what you feel like. You made a contract with him to go and pick up washers and dryers, disconnect yours, take them out of your house, install these, lay out the money to pay for these, use them for 8 months, and not pay them because you weren't happy with them.
I feel like I was being very kind because I didn't decide to sue him for his cat or the damages he did to the couch.
I'm telling you, you should stay in school. How much did you pay for the washer and dryer?
$1,800, and I took the money out of the bank. She had asked me because her ATM has a low limit, so I went into the branch of my own bank.
That's what you're suing for $1,800.
Yeah, I wanted to get the $200 if possible, but at this point, I just want the money for the machines.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. $1,800.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
It damaged the walls of my apartment. They banged it up.
She saw right through everything, the damages, she said.
The machines were overpriced.
None of that happened from me. I'm not a professional installer.
I don't think he cared because it wasn't his money.
At the time, they were less than 6 months old from original purchase date, so they were still worth the money that they were asking.
I don't know. I don't think we're going to be friends anymore.
I don't need friends like that, no.
So this case touched a little upon agency, like an agent-principal relationship, where here the plaintiff was actively acting as her agent by going and picking up these washing machines for her. They had communications beforehand about this is what they look like, this is what they cost, I'll do it for you for $200. Is this what you want to do? She says yes. You don't get to just then back out of it because you don't like the color. You knew what they look like. You knew they were used. There was no bait and switch. I was almost waiting for an explanation, for a bait and switch, he put the nice ones in his house and then gave me not so nice ones. But there was nothing. There was very rarely do we see no excuse for.
And she's using them.
Yeah, still for almost a year.
They're all banged up. They were all banged up. Well, that's what happens when you buy something that's used.
Mm-hmm.
When you buy something over the internet, which is really what she did, she could have just as easily said to him, before you load them in the truck, please take pictures of them so that I see them.
Yes, she could have.
So she could have. Did nothing.
That's not his fault.
It's not his fault.
Yeah.
Also allowed him to take the other stuff down, put the other stuff up, and then say, well, they were banged up.
$200 to move 4 heavy machines is a low price as far as I'm concerned.
Not a friend anymore.
Yeah.